This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Time being 4:46. I'd like to call this meeting of May 29th to order. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Start right in with the approval of the minutes. And we're going to start with the ones for April 17th. I think there was just that one correction.
Correct.
That Catherine had asked where we would put the word weather in. Okay, I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay. All right. And now we'll move on to the approval for minutes of May 15th. And I did watch the meeting, but I was not here, so I can make a motion for that.
Oh, there was a correction I wanted to, hold on just one second.
Okay.
I don't have my original copy I printed out, so.
I didn't see anything. Like I said, I only watched it, so I might have missed something.
I can't find it. Go ahead. It was in the AM Groton.
It was? Okay.
Actually, it might have been in the newspaper article, which was totally wrong, but go ahead. I'm comfortable with it because there's nothing else.
Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
just so the board knows, the newspaper article I did read as well, and that was the reporter calling, after watching the movie, calling AM Groton and asking questions. So there may have been something incorrect, but I don't,
Right.
yeah, so.
I
So it
think
wasn't
that's
you
what-
giving that information, it was.
Correct.
No, I gave exactly as what was accurate.
Okay.
Yep.
And most of that was taken from this meeting, so.
Okay. Someone want to make a motion?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of May 15th as written.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I'm going to abstain. Okay. All right. Announcements. Did you go down to the Memorial Day parade?
Yes.
How was it? I didn't get a chance to get
It
down.
was actually pretty, there wasn't a lot of people in the parade, but it was very well attended compared to previous years.
There were people lining up at 8:30 in the morning to see the parade. It was, I'm not going to say disappointing. There's never a disappointing moment when you have a Memorial Day parade, but it was short and shorter than other parades that we've seen.
Mhm.
But it was the people, it was the most I've seen in a long time.
Wow, that's great.
Long time.
And the weather was good,
Hmm.
so that's a plus.
Yep.
Okay.
And the other night, Dennis Manning, they had a meeting downstairs with the fire building committee, and he approached me after that and said that they would like to talk. They'd like to meet up with us and make it a little bit better, bigger, whatever, because he's a member of the Legion and his wife is the commandant. So
Okay.
it'd be nice to get together with them coming up to make it a little bit better. I said, I'm all over it. Let me know.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
that'd be great.
and Mr. Chairman, Selectman Dawson had asked at the meeting previous that I reach out to the American Legion, and I did. I spoke to Chris Murphy and emailed him and told him, whatever the town could do to help, let us know.
Perfect.
And I never did get a request, but he did tell me that he appreciated knowing it because I called him I think I called him on a Friday. It was a Friday, and they were meeting that following Monday, the Legion powers to be. So he would discuss it with him. So
Yeah. No, I think that'd be great if we could. Definitely.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have any other announcements. Anybody else? All right. Well, I'm hoping, why don't we just meet with you now? I was hoping Selectman Hanson would be here. But I don't want to hold you up because you're here and you probably have a busy life like everyone else. So let's do this.
Yep.
Eric Adams, you met Yohi, and is it pronounced Sayagusa?
Sayagusa.
Sayagusa.
Sayagusa?
Okay.
Sayagusa.
Sayagusa.
Yes. Thank you.
Catherine Dawson at the end of the table.
Yes. Met several times.
We've met. We
Oh.
met at a meeting.
Okay.
Yes,
John
yes.
Scanlon,
Oh,
because
perfect.
you built
Yeah.
that.
And I know.
Yeah.
Great.
And you have in your booklets, you have his application, just a copy of it. But also, the chairman has the original.
Yep.
So, Yohi has been at several meetings.
Oh, great.
I told him to expect questions, and so he's met our criteria for being at the meetings. And I did explain to Yohi, he had initially requested planning, and I asked him if he would be willing to go on another board because right now planning was full, but we really may have some needs in some of the other boards and zoning or
Okay.
others, and he has agreed. So
Oh,
I'm
So-
essentially willing to serve on any board or any commissions
oh, great.
at the needs of the town. So
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. We appreciate that. All right. So, well, that's good. So, yeah. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
about myself, sure. So my wife and our 3 kids, we moved to the town about a year ago. But prior to that, I spent 20 years in the U.S. Air Force as an officer.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Retired in August of 2023. Got hired by a consulting firm known as Booz Allen Hamilton, but really only did that for about half a year. And the reason being, my wife and I had plans to establish a farm,
Okay.
and we were initially planning on staying at the firm for about 2 to 3 years, but we're like, you know what? Why don't we just do it?
Yeah.
So I resigned from the firm. We bought a place here in Tilton about a year ago, and now we're in the process of trying to get it started.
Great.
But I do miss the service aspect of the military, and I do have a lot more time than I used to. So I figured I could do both. So that's why I decided to submit the application.
Okay. Any questions or you have anything?
Comes to planning, so
Yeah.
it's, what, if, not planning, what other interests do you have in town for municipal interests? Boards,
So-
what do you think you'd be interested in?
About a year ago, my neighbor, Steve, he's on the zoning board. He's like, hey, you got to be at the zoning board meetings. And I attended a few of those. As more of I had a vested interest in the outcome of the case that was being discussed, which was the 100 Autumn Drive. I'm not sure if you guys remember that, but
Yep.
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Yep.
And obviously, I had no institutional knowledge about this at all, but that got me interested in the processes that the town has
Yep.
in approving applications like that.
Great. So that would be one of your interests as well?
Well, I'm willing to do anything essentially in
Mhm.
terms of the minimum required attendance to the boards. I've been to 2 zoning boards and at least 2 planning board meetings as well.
Okay.
I saw on the town website that there is plenty of openings for economic development. I'm not sure if that is still a thing in this town. The
Mhm.
last notes that I've seen were about 2 to 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I'm essentially letting you guys know, hey, put me anywhere you want to put me.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's great.
There's a first, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't even know what to say, but all right. Well, that's great. Do you?
No, I really like your enthusiasm,
Yeah.
showing up at the meetings. You've been to some difficult meetings that
Mhm.
involve a lot of different things, so you've had a chance and you haven't run away from it.
It was interesting to see that bureaucracy
Mhm.
is a thing, because in the military we also had plenty of bureaucracies that we needed to deal with,
Yep.
and processes and the approval process really mattered. So
Mhm.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
I think that was another thing that's really good, that knowing procedures and processes
Yes.
is that everything, and you've well experienced the
Yeah,
procedures
yeah.
and processes, I'm sure, in the Air Force, that many years in this
And
officer.
the interplay between the zoning board and the planning board, where does this really belong in the other board, or do we have the authority to do it in this board, was also interesting to us,
Yeah.
having attended both board meetings.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting. Do you have anything?
No, I've talked with Yogi for quite a long time at the beginning and kind of try to get him to where he wanted to be with his wishes. And attending both meetings gave him a really good perspective on where he wanted to be. But I guess one of the questions is, and I kind of know the answer to this one because I kind of know his discipline, but you're willing to read and look at the books and things that the laws pertaining to what we're the processes that go on.
Yes, absolutely. So some of the documents that I found just during my doing my own due diligence, obviously the zoning board or the zoning ordinance that's posted onto the town website.
Mhm.
And the reason I'm intimately familiar with that in various other towns is, just needing to make sure that the farm that we want to establish is actually authorized or allowed by the
Yeah.
town.
Yep.
So, like my property is RA, which means that, yes, like I can actually, run a farm. So when we're property hunting, we ensured with whatever town that we found a nice piece of property that we could actually engage in farming activity.
Yeah.
But in terms of the planning board, I found this website that had it was like a few hundred page document that outlined the responsibilities of the planning board.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if that's one of the training required for that particular board, but it seemed to be very specific to the state of New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Sounds like New Hampshire Economic Development.
That's what I was just thinking.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that you have a vast of experience and knowledge
Yeah.
with these board members.
Yes.
Not so much me when it comes to that stuff,
Right,
but these board members.
And the references to the various RSAs remaining in compliance with the state.
Yep.
I've heard a bunch of other acronyms, like the Department of Transportation, and I believe the DES is the Department of Environmental Services.
Yep.
Right. So, and various discussions on wetland because
Yes.
protecting and conserving the environment is important.
Yeah.
So yes, a lot of exposures to that element from attending the planning and the zoning board.
Yeah. Well, I'm
He already knows more than me.
I'm excited about the enthusiasm. So
Mm.
that's yeah. All right. Well, so I think next steps will be to we'll discuss it.
Zoning. Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, I definitely think that if we, if we could, zoning would be a great spot. And then the economic development stuff, I think I
Yeah.
actually got put on that one.
You did. You
On that one.
you and
So maybe you and I, maybe, and I think, are you on that one too?
I am.
You are.
I am. Yeah.
So maybe the
Yeah.
three of us can sit down and look
Yeah.
at some of the old notes and
Okay.
maybe do something.
We have two
So-
vacancies on there. I
All
believe
right.
there's two. So,
Yeah. All right. Well, great. So yeah, so I'll have Scott be in touch with you.
Okay.
And yeah, and then do you have the books right
Yeah.
there?
I have the zoning regulations and the zoning board handbooks. Do you
You're
want to
already-
hand those out or no?
Yeah. I mean,
Do you want to do that?
Is that the board you'd like to be on, is zoning?
Again, I'm open to anything. Right
It's
now.
very interesting.
Right.
I currently think that's the only one we have alternates
Oh, good.
on.
I
Is zoning.
I just
Okay.
think,
So-
I think you'd be
All right.
great
And
on
Yeah.
zoning.
and economic development, of course. So,
yeah.
I think you'd be really good on zoning. Is that the top one? That's from economic development, right? It looks like it.
EA.
Yes.
yes.
That's,
Yeah.
that's very informative.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. There's also I just had John and I sign up, had Amy sign John and I up for it.
Knowing the territory? or is
It
that-
was, no, it's like zoning, almost like a zoning 101. Like it's for anybody that
Oh,
wants
basics
to learn.
of zoning.
Yes.
It's a class.
So
It's a
it's-
webinar.
Okay.
And Yogi,
Yep.
we can send you the information on that.
Sure.
It's 9 to 12, and I think it's on June 12th.
It's,
I believe.
yeah, I have it in my calendar. I can, because we just got confirmation
Yep.
on when it was. So, whoop, wrong one.
It's ZBA Basics 12 to 2, and it's on June 16th.
Yes. So we'll have Amy get you set up. Right? Is that what? Yeah.
I can just forward it.
Who's doing the webinar?
It's Plan. I believe it's Plan New Hampshire or
Yeah.
New Hampshire.
Probably 'cause I can't
NHMA.
see my phone.
It's one or the other.
Yeah, I think it's an HMA.
Yeah.
There's a couple of ones right now that are out there that are doing the webinars on zoning. That there's a lot of lunch ones that are out there that
Mhm.
do webinars. They're just an hour long and they're great. We take advantage of those.
Yeah. Yeah, basics. Yeah, so it's 12 o'clock on June 18th.
June 16th.
Oh, I have it as June 18th.
Okay.
I got that calendar invite right here from the Municipal Association. June 18th, 12 to 2 online Zoom. Thanks for registering. So yeah, so I'll have Scott,
Sounds good.
or we can have Scott get that set up so you can actually take that one if you're available. Yeah, that'd be great.
All right.
So I'll give you a good head start. All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in. Yes, you as well.
It's good to see you.
We'll talk. All right.
Thank you. Pleasure to meet you.
June 18th.
So
Yeah, that's what I have on my calendar.
on
All right,
his
I'm gonna-
application where it says, what does it say? Needs of the town. We'll have to write in zoning. Discretion of needs of town. I've never seen it before.
What's it say?
Discretion of needs of town, of Tilton.
Is that one
Oh,
of
yeah,
my
it says-
comments?
Yeah,
That's
it
better
says-
than, whatever. I thought it was good.
Yeah, economic development or planning board or at discretion of needs of Tilton.
So we'll have to write zoning.
Okay. Am I good to cross this out here? Because this is the original.
He took zoning.
Yeah, and we did email back and forth and he told me he was basically at our mercy. So,
Exciting.
and again, I think I think we have one alternate position on zoning. I think currently that's it. So, and I explained to him, usually we ask people to sit as alternates, and if the need arises, then we move you up. And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope you're right, because I just changed mine.
Whereas there is a vacancy. So would it be an alternate?
Yeah, for now, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Alternate member.
Zoning is full
For now,
currently.
yeah.
Currently, yes. Yep.
And then term of. Or it says whereas there is a vacancy as a alternate member of the zoning board for a term of. Do we put anything?
Well, the
Usually-
town tax
yeah,
collector usually fills
usually-
it.
She usually
Town
fills
clerk
it out.
usually fills
Yeah.
it in.
Okay. All right.
And
Where he's an alternate.
right,
It really doesn't.
No, it's simple.
doesn't make a difference, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they do expire.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, they do expire. I think
Okay.
it's, 3 years.
All right.
Well, the members do, but do the alternates too? And I don't know the answer to that.
I don't
Hmm.
either.
So let's open it up for public comment right now. Anybody online? Because we don't have anybody. I don't know if anybody online wants.
There
to-
is 3 people online.
Yeah. So I know if anybody had anything they wanted to say online. Give it a second. Sometimes people struggle with getting that.
You know, when the hazardous waste, I see John Barrett's online, he usually asks when the hazardous waste pickup is.
Yes, we haven't set that date yet. Shane is going to the next meeting. I believe it's next week to set it up.
Okay.
Hazardous waste.
I know John's asked me, John Barrett, in the past, so
Okay.
we'll make sure that we get
Yeah.
that posted.
Okay. Hearing none. All right. Tim, you're up.
Great, thank you. So if you turn to your, to my report in your binders, I'll be pretty brief tonight as we're on a holiday shortened week. But first, before I go into the report, I just want to explain, we are slightly under budget for expenses for the year. And as you're aware, tax bills have gone out and we're already seeing tax revenue coming in. We'll know a lot more in the next couple of weeks how strong that is, how that tracks to prior years for the first issue. But all looks good so far. And as far as my report, first item, Academy Street note. So we're ready to close at any time between now and August 15th. We have 90 days. We completed all the other paperwork that needed to be done for the note. And it's just a matter of setting a date, which up until this point, we've been waiting on the engineer for additional information for expanded costs. We received that late this afternoon and provided him some feedback with some items we thought could be taken out of their expense list for the project. and they're going to revise it and get back to us. But bottom line is, we can close on this note at any point in time, and then we won't have to pay anything until we start drawing on it, obviously. So, and the beauty of this note is that if we come in under budget, we will only be paying long-term for whatever, we've spent on this project. So in any event, just wanted to bring your attention that it does have to be closed before August 15th, or we have to go back through the approval process and probably risk losing our rate. The second item is Selectman Dawson had asked for some detail invoices on our legal fees, and there's been some other requests for things regarding that. I did create a binder. It's on the Selectmen's table right now, and it lists for all of 24 and 25, and we'll keep that updated, as copies of our invoices, and it's ordered by a law firm that we've used for different things. You can see in my report where I've listed out how much we've spent with each firm and what our budget is for the year as well. So so far, we're still under budget. There are 3 areas where we have budget for legal and or legal professional, and that's in the town hall administrative budget, $25,000. There's $4,000 in the land use professional consulting line, and then there's $3,000 in the police department legal line. The PD's line is generally used for grievances or things relating to the collective bargaining agreement.
Hey, Tim,
Yes.
this is what's in there right now. This is what we
This-
have in there right now.
Yes, yeah. So this
Okay.
is what this. So 2B are showing all of our expenses year to date by firm,
Okay, but
and
this is the legal
2A is the budget. That's the original budget at town hall. That's not the remaining budget.
Oh, okay.
So to
Okay.
determine the remaining budget, you'd take the 32,000 less roughly 10,000. So we have about 22,000 remaining across all 3 of those lines.
Thank you.
So in any event, and if there's any questions about any of the specific invoices, you can see them in there. But some of the firms are used primarily for one type of activity, such as Upton and Hatfield we use for the opinion letters that are required for our borrowing. And then in any case, so that's it for the legal fees. As I said, they're all in that binder for your perusal. The third item is regarding IT upgrades. So between now and the end of September, we've got to complete all the upgrades to Windows 11 Pro.
Mhm.
So this is in order to keep our cyber insurance with Primex. If we were not to do this, we'd be at risk if we did get hit of not having any coverage for a cyber attack, and they can be very expensive. The reason things have to be upgraded by then is that Windows 11 Pro or Windows 10 Pro won't have any updates from that point forward, and 11 Pro doesn't run on any old Windows computer. You have to have a certain generation of processor. You have to have other things on the machine. There's certain requirements that are a must-have. So in some respects, we've been able to upgrade the ones that were more recent replacements just through software upgrades, and then I've had to acquire a number of systems, some of which came from the courts, which we were fortunate to get, and then some others that I've been able to get a very good price on. And so in some cases I've had to buy licenses, in some cases I've had to buy hardware. Bottom line is it's all covered under the 25 budget, and I don't anticipate us going over on that right now. I'm handling personally the town hall public works upgrades, and then I'm managing the upgrades that are taking place over at the PD through our contractor. So, but that is a kind of a hard deadline through the end of the summer, and that's going to be ongoing. And then lastly, on the second page of my report, I thought it was time to provide an update as to my goals and objectives for the second quarter, as opposed to just sort of showing it after the end of the second quarter is kind of like a midway point. And I had originally listed these out for the board in my report of March 20th for this second quarter. And you can, I won't go through these, but the non-bolded things come directly from that, my report on the 20th. And then the bolded items are what the status is or whether it was completed. So most of these have either been completed or have moved along in progress, with maybe one exception. And other than that, unless you have any questions, that's pretty much the end of my report for today.
Great. I don't have any questions.
Nope.
No.
Thank you, Tim.
Just had one question. I know Tim was working on the street light, street light that never got replaced.
Which street light? The
The one, remember when they replaced all the street lights, I pointed out that one didn't get done?
one by Walmart?
Yeah.
That is supposed to be done. They assured me it was on the schedule, but I have not checked. I haven't seen we did get one bill.
Yes.
I thought it may have been for that,
I thought so too.
but apparently it's not. So it's still out.
They never replaced it. And I know I brought it up right after they installed them. Was it 3 years ago?
Right, but
Right,
but
and-
since that time, there was a period where it was undetermined as to whether that was the state's light. It did turn out to be the state's light, and not our light, that pole. But we since provided the authorization to take that over as a town light and add it to our our list. And the light was supposed to have been changed to the LED light, but
Because it's really dim. You know what I'm talking about? Right by across, right where Walmart comes out
Mhm.
and the car dealer.
Oh, yeah.
That one light that lights up that intersection is one of the old ones, and it's like dim and yellow.
Okay.
And we've had
Oh, yeah, I get
we've had some pretty severe accidents.
we have the order in. So
Who
I can
replaces
check on the status.
Is that a light that we pay for, or is that that's on Route 3? Isn't it a state of New Hampshire?
It was a state of New Hampshire light. It took a while to figure out whose light it was. They ended up turning off a number of lights,
Yes.
and that was one that in that vicinity, and it was that's the last of that grouping. So it was undetermined by Eversource. It took them a while to figure out whose light it was.
So there, if you go up the road there, you can see there's some we replaced, and then all of a sudden there's one that isn't, and then the next one's replaced. So it's a couple replaced by us, and then just one light skipped, and then
Well,
that's why it's.
So in any case, but the bottom line was more than, maybe a month or two ago.
Yeah.
There was an order put in.
786.
I'll check on it.
$786.
And we did get a bill.
Yeah.
So
Got a bill for it too.
unless I'll have to go out and take a look myself.
Maybe they put the wrong one in.
So are you telling me we inherited that light?
No, I had discussed it with the board, and the board was in agreement to put a light on that, switch it over from the state to the town. The cost is nominal over the course of a year, but the state had just gone through and canceled a whole bunch of lights, including the ramp that's right there.
I have that list.
It needs.
I have that study.
You have an old list, then I think.
I have an old one, but
Yeah.
when they went through and
Yep.
from Winnisquam to
It's
Franklin.
right in front of where the old bank is with the little
I know where it
circle
is.
around it.
So,
Yeah.
And at the intersection itself of Walmart, the street.
Yeah.
so if we own that,
I'll follow up with
Yeah.
Eversource and see where that is.
if we own that,
Yeah.
how do we replace it?
Eversource.
That
Well,
Eversource?
Eversource, yeah.
yeah.
build
So our vendor Affinity LED supplies the light. Eversource lets them know when they're going to do the actual job. Eversource actually physically does the work,
Physically
to my
does.
understanding.
Oh, okay.
understanding. It depends on the pole, but I believe that one, they actually do it. And they get the light from us. We generally get the package down at DPW, and
Mhm.
a lot of little steps in between, but I'll follow up and see what the status of that is.
You know, when Joe Jessamine retired, we gave him the boots that we listened to for about 6 or 7 years from the PD. I think we ought to, when they take the light down to put up the LED light, we should make sure that we hold on to it for John's retirement. Just a suggestion.
That's funny.
Street light. You can have it as a memorial.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to give it to you, John.
We listened to about maybe 6 years because Jeannie's been gone for at least 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Tim.
Okay, you're welcome.
And yeah, when you get an update on that, if it's sooner than the next board meeting, just email the board.
Mm.
I will. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. You are up, Scott.
Okay, so quickly, I would like to go over the to be signed folder. Payroll and AP need one more signature.
Yep.
Okay,
I
all
think
done.
we all
Okay.
did it.
Yeah, they're all but John.
Abatement, town clerk needs an abatement. That's done too.
Done too.
Excellent.
Yep.
Elderly credit. I'm not going to say the name, but there's an
Yep,
elderly
that's
credit.
done.
Okay. Planning board application, we have veterans credit. Yeah,
Yeah. that was-
okay.
Done.
Yep.
Yield tax
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
and a fireworks permit.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. In the green folder, FYI, is a Breeze Line info sheet in the Lakes region upcoming events. So, and now if I might just highlight my report, which I did email out to you today. Morrison Ave construction starts on June 2nd. That'll be the milling. Shane has got, and his staff have got the covers information for the sewer. And we will be borrowing metal plates from a local construction company to cover the sewer covers during the milling. So they have to figure out how high they're going to adjust the road after they mill the road down. So
Yeah, so he already pulled it out and covered it up and
or did
put it
Okay.
over.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
Oh,
Good. So we do need to discuss the AC for the back of the stage. And I think if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, we'll do that in non-public, but I do have a different quote here, but we can discuss in
Mm-mm.
the reason I have the quote. So
Mm-mm.
Why is that non-public? I thought the same person that did this was doing that. And it was all set.
that's why we need to discuss that in non-public, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're going to discuss that one in non-public.
Yeah. Yeah. I was hoping you were going to follow. You were following me, Mr. Chairman. So, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, in my report, I also indicate that I need a vote of the board. Pillsbury Street, the director of operations for grounds and stuff his name is Rob. He emailed me. Pillsbury Street is now a cutover because Academy Street is closed. They've had several circumstances. In fact, I've witnessed a few, and I use that as a cutover myself. I don't drive fast, but there are a lot of people who are a lot of near misses with students. The athletic fields are right there, and the soccer field, not the soccer, tennis courts and that stuff. And they've asked for a speed bump to be placed there. So I would ask the board, I believe that's a very legitimate request, and I would like to get that addressed before, and I can have a public works director take care of that.
How many speed bumps do we have?
Currently, I think we have
5.
5.
Because we put one on Academy,
Yep.
Chestnut,
we put one on Cedar.
Cedar,
Yep.
Chestnut,
2 on Chestnut.
Daniel,
Daniel,
right,
yeah.
And now on Pillsbury?
Pillsbury, yeah. Because
So-
everybody used Academy Street to cut across until we closed that.
So
But that's only a temporary situation.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I can tell you, I've been almost hit multiple times.
Yeah.
There, literally multiple times, to the point where I had one that they actually almost hit the fence on the other side when I started to pull out because they were going so fast.
Yeah, people are driving too fast up there.
Yeah.
I was on Cedar coming down and
Yeah.
it's like, wow,
Oh yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
in this, in
It's
this area,
it's like a drag when they turn onto that road. It's literally like a drag
shoot
race
over to
shoot over.
Prospect.
So I think it's a good idea. We know it's temporary.
Motion to put a speed bump on Pillsbury.
Second.
Any discussion?
Is
gonna
this only
deter-
going to be a temporary one? Or is this going to be a permanent one that we put up every single year and go like it is?
It's gonna come off in the
And where's the money
fall.
going to come from if we have such a tight budget?
It's gonna come off in the fall. I thought we determined every spring.
But
these.
once we put it up, then they automatically go up the next year and the next year and the next year unless they hear from the Board of Selectmen not to put it up anymore.
I will amend my motion to say until Academy Street is opened. Because that's the reason we're putting it there, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
But my other question is, who will determine where on Pillsbury it should be? The chief?
I mean,
That's what they did before they got
Yes.
together
In the
with
middle?
Jane. Right.
so I would say the chief,
Yeah.
Scott, and the director.
Right. Rob will be,
of grounds
he,
there.
I think he will, he's been very cordial
I know
when
where
I
I am,
ask
but-
questions.
I mean, I don't suppose we want it right in front of the entrance to the football or we don't.
No,
There's
I-
a lot of entryways off that
Close
road.
enough to where the
Yeah.
pedestrians are.
I would put it. Yeah. I
Frequently
mean, that's
on the
just
Yeah, that's,
me. I
yeah.
would put it either on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the little turn to go down into their big parking lot.
Yep.
That's just my,
I drove by there. I agree.
because at least then they would have to
Slow down
break
there.
right there where all the kids cross. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave it up to the chief okay, so we can move on.
I
now.
think that's a good idea. I mean,
Okay.
whatever you guys want to do as a consensus, but I think that maybe the chief and
I like the group. I mean,
Scott and-
the chief is going to be there.
the director.
He knows traffic more than
Yeah.
anybody.
Oh, definitely.
So
The point of order that you amended your
Point.
motion, but nobody amended the
second.
second. Okay,
the amendment
Okay.
of the motion.
okay.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor on the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
So just on that same subject, Scott, on everybody else too, just on that same subject, I've seen in a few towns where what they've done, instead of putting a speed bump in, that when they repave roads, they put what I guess, I don't know what you call it, but it's like a speed hump. It's not a bump, but it's like a 6-foot wide raised up portion.
I have
and
seen
then it
'em.
goes down.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they can plow.
So they
Yeah.
can
That's so they
plow
can
over
plow,
it,
yeah.
and it
Yeah.
never has to be taken in and out.
Yeah.
So it's not like and
Yeah.
have to be bolted in. That we might
Yeah.
want to start looking at some of these roads that have perhaps a 25-mile-an-hour limit, and areas like that, or if we even redo Academy Street, look into while you're paving it.
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about, pal?
I
You've
do
seen-
know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah. And
Yep,
Concord
I've seen it.
uses them.
Yeah, 6 or 8 feet,
Mhm.
and it's striped, so you
Right. Yeah.
and you can still
Right.
plow.
Yeah. Yeah,
Drainage is an
Definitely will
issue,
slow
but,
people down.
yeah, that's,
and
that's-
I've also seen some places where they put recesses in
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
too, so,
That
and,
just
and,
fills up with snow and ice.
yeah.
yeah, that would be.
So I
my
don't think
concern.
that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Here, but
That
we
definitely
might
catches
want to
people
start
off guard.
taking a look at,
Yeah.
in those, especially the school areas and stuff like that, where we have cut through, so we don't have to keep
Yeah.
take them in now. And in the wintertime, it slows down the people that drive because
Yeah.
Slows them down year round. It's a
Year
good
round.
idea.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's
Mr. Chairman, if I might add to that, the chief just reminded me, there had been a gentleman that asked about the lower section of Cedar Street. Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the current speed bump is at Cedar and High Street?
Here in
That's further down.
Spruce.
Cedar and Spruce.
Cedar and Spruce
Okay,
Street.
excuse me. Yeah, and Daniel, right. But this gentleman had said in an email to the chief and I, very similar problem, only once they get over the one at Cedar and Spruce or Chestnut and Spruce, they just gun it coming down the rest of the hill.
Oh, yeah.
17 Chestnut.
Oh, so that's
17.
two different streets you're talking about.
Yeah. I was
Because you
a
have
little lost.
Daniels, and then right after Daniels, you have one on Chestnut right around the corner.
Corner, right,
And at the top
right.
by Billy Lawrence's. And then so as soon as they come around that one, then they gun it going
Yeah,
down the hill.
that's-
That's what
that's-
you're talking
Yeah,
about.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that is a problem.
And it,
it's everywhere.
But we
Yeah.
can't put speed bumps
on all the streets.
on all the tree streets
Yeah.
because that's where it's needed, because
Yeah,
they go down Prospect Street the same way.
yeah, I know.
Prospect is
I almost got T-boned there.
horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible
And there's,
Prospect.
yeah, and
Maybe
there's
we
a stop.
should look into what John was talking about.
I like that idea. I really like that idea.
Talk to Shane about it. Maybe
Yep,
he can.
yep, yeah,
Could you mention it to
Yep.
Shane and put it
I
on
will. I will.
Maybe
Something to
we
look
could
into.
find out from R&D what that would, I mean,
Run
is
us,
that going to
yeah.
affect,
I mean-
increase the cost of paving?
You know,
Try it on Morrison on
I know
June
they have
2nd.
that on, they have it on, Morrison has the same thing. It's the houses are close to the street
Right.
and there's lots of kids.
Yeah.
And some don't have yards. So they're going out and, you get the same thing. And I
Yeah.
mean, police can't be everywhere to enforce these because it's
No.
That's the issue
Yeah.
with Cedar Street. They come out into the street and there's no parking or anything, and that's what happens.
Uh,
And the cars are parking on the sidewalks, the painted sidewalks, which everybody thinks it's a free-for-all. It's their own private parking.
Mm.
And the kids have to go around it.
Yeah. And I'm going to jump around a little bit on my notes here because the crosswalks, I did inform the board that I had asked Shane to get me costs on the stand-up crosswalk signs for down here on Main Street.
Yep.
Well, Tuesday, we had an incident that I watched from my office, and that's the reason my hair's a little grayer, is there was a gentleman, thank God he was somewhat handicapped, he was very slow, and he had tried to get across to go to the store. The lady stopped coming eastbound to let him go, and the car come up behind the lady that was stopped and went to her right and was going to go around. And the lady blew the horn. Had she not blown the horn, this guy was going to step right in, and the fact that he was a little slow in his gait because of his handicap. That car would have took him out. She laid on the brakes at the last second, and the lady that stopped, being respectful to let the pedestrian cross, rolled down the window and was yelling. I couldn't hear the conversation,
Road
but
rage.
I'm sure there was some comments. But reiterating my concern, and I asked Shane, Director of Public Works, to get me a quote as quick as he could and get he's going to start on the crosswalks next week, painting them.
Mhm.
It's not that most people know there's a crosswalk there, but I think we need to, especially here, that could have been a serious tragedy. And thank God that guy was slow.
Yeah.
But, so I just wanted to throw that in for the board to understand that I've asked Shane to do a number of things, but
Okay.
his plate's getting full too, I'm sure. So,
Yeah.
you do have in your binders, somewhere in your binders, a historical, document, that is in the, for your review in your binders, that, Sue McDonald met with John Cirillo, our chairman of the, Tilton Historical Society, about, using some of the stuff that she had put aside and collected. And I asked her before we released anything to give me a copy. So you have that, and things that we feel the Historical Society could use, and, take. And then the rest of it, is indicated on there with, some of it we can destroy, other, stuff we should keep and here. But there is a list, and it should be marked Historical Society, from Sue McDonald. So
Is there a clue as to where this list is?
it should be under your review,
It's behind. It's in the for review,
for review.
I just looked.
and it is behind
I'm looking,
the NHDES.
yeah, it's the fourth one. Should be the four back.
I see it. Thank you.
Under the basement. That's interesting.
Hmm.
Did you find it, John?
No, I got the DES, this one,
Oh, no. It's in your binder, regular binder.
for review.
Yeah, for review.
Yeah.
And then it's behind it's like the fourth document.
But we're certainly not going to give him
Yep, right there. I
the
see
town selectmen's letters and invoices.
Yep. Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
The
That's town.
letters and invoice. I know. I'm like looking at the dates.
There's nothing there that is, they're just old letters
Yeah,
to
but
the
they're
Board of
still
Selectmen. Right.
Town records.
Right. Yes.
And the policy, the state law is there's
Yeah.
there's supposed to be a group
Right.
that goes
Yeah,
through
reviews them.
in town
Right. Reviews them.
that
Yeah.
reviews it and determines
Yes.
what we keep and
That's
what we
correct.
throw.
Yep.
Although I don't
And
know
we-
if that's been active.
And we do have that group in existence, or we do have a group, but it has not been in existence for a long time. So, that is something we'll have to work on.
I see a sentence in here, Pat seems to think there will be not any problems with having him take these items. I don't know about these items except a box of photos which we went through. So the photos, most of them, I shouldn't say most of them, a lot of them were from the Grange with up there, so I was familiar with them. And that's what I looked at. That's what I was referring to. I don't know of anything else.
I know in
Yeah.
years past, the Board of Selectmen have discussed that box of photos. And the thought is, we have some bare walls, but they're historical, they're framed.
Yeah.
Right.
And, we could actually put them here in
Hang
town
them
hall
up.
for people to see.
Mhm.
Hang them up.
Yeah.
I
And
know
maybe we should do that.
they've been scanning and cataloging photos, so they're saved forever. So
Yep.
I think if we could loan them for at least for that, so they would all be
Yeah.
digitized. for the
Right.
Historical
Digitized.
Society, and then
Right.
Good idea.
originals be
Yep.
stored somewhere safe.
Yeah, I agree with
Good
that.
idea, yeah.
I also noticed there's a banner flag thing for militia,
Mhm.
New Hampshire militia. You've seen that. And there's also some signs from the old, I think, optical and druggist that was in here,
Wow.
hang down there, that are in the room
There's an old
where the cage.
Tilton,
Pharmacy or Rexall.
Gotta go down there.
Yeah.
Rexall? Is it?
Likely.
I'm talking about up here. I didn't go downstairs. I just talking up here. There's an old sign that used to hang out here for the Tilton Town Hall.
Hmm.
Really old sign, but seen the Rexall sign
Yeah,
downstairs
I have too. Yeah.
and the militia sign that's downstairs. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
we should not keep those downstairs.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
So- So what's the consensus?
I think the photos we should keep for us to look through to see, as John said, any of the photos
Yep.
should be kept and then scanned.
Allowed him to,
Yeah,
we'll give
we should
permission
scan
for them to
them.
scan them.
And then
Well, who should scan them? You're saying one thing and she's saying another, John.
we should scan them
Well, I can.
before we lose them.
The Historical
Because
Society.
we had boxes and boxes of photos and they disappeared.
Mm.
And I know they existed because I went through them when we were building, when we were proposing to build Riverfront Park. So I've seen them. I went through them. They were there. They existed and they were very cool photos. And they disappeared.
So one of the things is that they're set up for scanning those and doing them really well. Perhaps we can ask them if they could
Digitize them.
do it here, or what type of guarantee would we have, on it? Because they did the whole thing for the whole Tilton school. They
Mhm.
gave them complete access to
Oh,
all
sure.
theirs. And
And the ones that are in frames, it'd be easy enough for us to go through and determine whether or not we wanted to keep them to hang up or.
but even the framed ones, they took them out, scanned them,
Yeah.
put them back.
Scanning and saving. I don't have a problem with the, see, this stuff came from the Grange, the uniforms and,
1970 phone
Right.
book.
yeah.
In the Lockmere Women's Club thing came from the Grange.
That's from the Grange.
Yep.
There's-
The Gators came from the Grange, probably the last items.
Right.
I think the 70 phone book came from the Grange.
Actually, I think that was here.
Was it? Yeah.
I think that was up there
1970.
I should point, in the closet.
Yep.
But nevertheless,
The 3 shelves
it's
of
not town
paperwork.
record.
So the 3 shelves of paperwork in the back room off of the stage.
There's
Doesn't give any specifics.
What is that?
there are all different items. I mean, there's a plethora of papers and ledgers and photos, and somebody has to take the time to go through them all. It's cardboard files of 3 shelves worth of things.
Is it town or is it Grange stuff?
I think it's both, to be honest with you.
I mean, technically, if it's town, then our committee should go through it
Mhm.
and separate it. Not just one person, but our committee, because that's what the law says.
I haven't really,
If
I
it's
didn't have the
Grange
time to
stuff-
go through it. I really didn't have the time to go through it when I was up there. I just didn't take the time to go. The photos, there are some framed photos that
Yeah.
are absolutely outstanding photos of
Yeah.
downtown. They're fascinating to me to hear John's history of it and things. So I stuck around for that, but other than that, I didn't look at the uniforms or anything. And that I know they came from the Grange, but
So could
Some
we-
were donated by Joanna Oliver.
yep.
No,
Some
those
of the uniforms.
photos, the framed ones, came
Mm.
from Chuck Virgin.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They came from Chuck Virgin.
Mm.
And they weren't from the Grange. They were from the Tilton Historical Society when it was at the Grange.
Well,
Ah.
some of the
It
ones,
isn't Grange stuff.
but some of the ones that we
given to the town.
the ones that we looked at came from Bill Joslin.
There were some from Bill
Yeah.
Joslin, yes.
Right.
But a lot of those are from Chuck Virgin.
Yep.
And like I said, those were not from the Grange when the Tilton Historical Society
Correct.
was there and we
Yep.
they gave us the building.
Right.
They gave us the contents. So those belong to the town of Tilton. It's not stuff that was left at the Grange and came here.
Right.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
if I
could-
explained that right.
I have a suggestion. Perhaps we talk to John about the photographs and a way to archive them and a good process for scanning them and archiving them and doing it and has their, because they've done it with the Tilton School and a lot of other stuff that's been entrusted to them, but ask them to suggest a process for doing that.
Nice.
I'm with that.
Yeah,
That's a good
Me too.
idea.
And what to save
Yep.
for prosperity.
Yep.
so that's a consensus.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yep.
All right, and
Who's going to get
Who's
in touch
gonna-
with John?
who do we want to get in touch with?
I'll take care of that. I'll have
Okay.
Sue follow it up or
Yep. Sounds good.
see.
I could start a committee and put Yoshi on
You probably would do it.
it. I know you would.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, and I wish I'd thought about it because the chief's been sitting here very patiently, but in my report to you folks, I asked for evaluation update. We need to get them done by July 1. You only have 2 meetings left to do that. So I'd like if we could set up appointment times for the chief and DPW, and then in the town hall and others on a separate day. The only 2 days we have to do it is June 12th and June 26th. I do believe the chief said he was going to be gone that week, the 26th. So I'd like to lock him in to one of those dates if the board could see fit. We'll have to do them in non-public. We don't anticipate, and Tim tells me that last year went very well, and the chief tells me that too. So,
So July 12th. I mean, June
June.
12th.
June 12th.
For
Will
the
that
chief.
work for you, chief? Okay.
Okay.
So that way we can give him, and I will,
Can you check with Shane?
yeah, Shane will do the same day. Yep.
On both of them on June 12th?
You do both? Yep. That's the way Tim told me we did it last year.
So we can have a very abbreviated meeting.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And we
Yes,
will
that.
just,
Mhm.
the chief will make his presentation and
Mhm.
Shane will make his presentation and you'll have my input, Tim's input. And,
Typically, when we do that, the department heads put pizzas for the selectmen.
really? I think I heard.
I remember that. That's right. Cheese, please.
Good catch, John. Good catch.
I'm trying.
All right.
Why are you looking at me with that comment? I've lost weight.
Okay.
right.
So we'll
Yeah.
have those two. We'll
Yeah,
do
so,
when we put the agenda out, we'll do
yeah, yeah. And
abbreviated
just I
agenda so
wanted to
we
give the
can
board a heads up.
spend
So
more time on
we'll need pretty much everybody those 2 dates.
that. Okay.
And the last thing I want to be very brief on is in my report, I have a property damage update. We've got a couple of properties. I'd like to make sure if you haven't read it that you do, because I have a plan in there. The chief's prosecutor has been, and the chief have been helping on one because it involves a criminal charge. So, and the other is the trough out front, which I'm still waiting for the damage assessment. And just to let the board know, and Catherine was there, but that watering trough that got slid over in that accident is now hanging up the tractor trailers that are turning from the bridge onto Route 3 because it's sticking out considerably. So I've asked Shane to get the water company here and a machine to push it back in place. And as Catherine will tell you, we looked at it, but we've got to pressure test it before we move it and as we move it and after we move it. And Ronnie Dunlop, who is Dunphy's Construction, suggested he would be here, and just a way to do it, a technique to use that does it very slow. Because if we can do it without damaging the water pipe, and obviously want to make sure we don't have a leak, but I'm afraid that that's going to create a further problem. So I've asked Shane to put that on his priority list, as well as the many other things. So,
But if we move that back, the wall behind it is brick, is it not? Part of the, I mean, you have the watering trough, then you have the planter.
Right.
The planter was so damaged by that impact.
Hmm.
It's crazy.
yeah, yeah, it is.
Not just moving the trough, but if you look at the plan, I mean, the wall on this side is,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
It
it's,
buckled down.
It did, yeah.
yeah, the whole thing's gonna come down and be rebuilt.
yeah.
But my question is it gonna have to be moved again?
I'm not,
The,
yeah,
looking in there, the stones that it sits on, the foundation, if you will, that
Mm.
granite trough sits down, look
Mm.
like they were compromised as well.
yeah, yeah, that's
So are
what,
we moving it back and temporary?
yeah, basically, I think it will be until we get it done.
Okay.
And we'll have to move it again. Shane's a little concerned because that watering trough weighs 6,300 pounds. But
A solid piece of,
yeah, I believe we can push it over there with the loader.
you don't want to push it.
Yeah, well, you gotta, as Ronnie described, yeah, we gotta lift it a little bit, set it on something and slide it over. At least if we can get it, maybe not even, as long as we can get it out of the way, I think, somewhere near where it was, I think we'll be okay. So,
Is Ronnie going to assist in it?
yes, he is. Yeah, he said he would be here when we do it. So,
We're hoping that it sounds funny, lead pipes because they have some flex.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can hurt that thing any more than it was hit. That was hit.
Oh, and I sent you all the pictures.
That was hit very hard.
You know,
Yeah.
the other option is Rusty's. They do recovery. I've watched
Yeah.
the trailers and the slings and
Yeah.
bows and all that, and they're insured too.
Right.
So if something gets damaged worse, who's responsible for that?
Yeah.
I think who knows in the end. The other part of it is so if, who's responsible for getting that back and make sure we keep track of time for billing for all this.
Well, I already
Because
told
every
Shane
penny
that.
of this should be.
Yeah. And I did tell Shane that I wanted him to keep track of hours,
Yeah.
equipment usage, and everything, because the insurance company, I've reported this one to our underwriters at Primex, and Primex has said worst case scenario, because the person doesn't have insurance, is Primex, we file a claim less $1,000 deductible that we have to pay, and then Primex will go after, and the chief has a report that goes to the state that says this guy doesn't have insurance and he did property damage. So
even
the state will eventually take his license.
And even details while they're moving it, all your hours that you guys
Yeah.
spend down there.
Correct.
For traffic control.
Yeah. Yep.
There was one thing also, it relates around that, is I noticed coming into town, it's 25 miles an hour speed limit. However, the speed limit sign is almost at Onions.
Mhm,
It's all the way down the road and it's around the bend.
mhm.
So when you're approaching downtown, all of a sudden you're
Mm.
10 or 15, 20 feet from a crosswalk.
Mm.
And it says now slow down to 25. It's impossible to slow down to 25. That, I don't know if we can get that sign moved up more towards like, Dr.
Cumberland's.
Mishkan's old
Yeah.
office, right at that driveway from Cumbies.
Mm.
It should be just on this side.
It should be, that 25 should be where almost where the train tracks go
Yeah.
right before that.
Where the
It's
30
a
is.
30, but 30 should be pushed back further. It should be
Yep.
a 30 to where
Yeah.
all those
Yeah.
residents are. And then also with the sidewalk, it's not really a sidewalk, it's a bump up. And
Yeah.
There's a lot of people walking.
Hmm.
That should be a 30. That's something that I was
Yeah.
going to talk to the state with Nancy Spalding and people from the state
Yeah.
to find out if we can move that 30-mile-an-hour back and around the corner as you come down
Right.
where your house is. It should turn to a 30 there. So instead
Right.
of being a 35
Start
all
stepping
the
down.
way, and then that 25
At the
would
train
be where
tracks.
the train tracks were in
Yeah.
that area,
Right.
roughly wherever they feel.
Right.
And that's where it should be.
Yeah.
And that would
Start
be
stepping
enough
them
notice
down.
It
for
really
folks
should
to
be.
Slow that traffic down in that area.
Should say 20.
So you're going to take that on
I
as
know.
Yeah,
charge?
that's just an easy call to Nancy, and then I've
Yeah.
had other things I could take care of. They were able to take
I
care
think that would be a good idea
Thank you.
Well,
to do that.
Yep, I do too.
Or ratchet.
Yeah. Under the evaluation,
Yes.
are we going to discuss that as well?
We can. I don't think we have anything really significant that we changed on that form. We're just changing the procedure.
I think
there's a process
we should probably have the
that
conversation.
gets
Okay.
discussed every year.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will say I've gotten 3 different kind of like how we do it. So I'm new and I would like input from the 3 of you as to what the process is as to how this Board of Selectmen handles the evaluations for
Everybody.
everybody.
In other words, do you do the evaluation and show it to the employee and then bring it to the selectmen? Or do you do the evaluation,
And I'll leave,
don't show it to the employee and then bring it to the
right. So I'll
selectmen?
take it one step further. Is that something that is the initial conversation or the initial contact done by the chairman or chairperson, and then they request feedback or they request information from the other board members, and then they take that input and then they do the evaluation? Or do the board have information and provide that information in like a non-public?
I think you're talking about 2 different things. The first thing you talked about was the process. Do we talk about to the employee and then go to the Board of Selectmen, or do you talk about, do you do it and then whatever? Get your answer for that first. The chairman typically does the town administrator evaluation. Chairman is the liaison. We voted that a few years back to the chief of police.
We got rid of those liaison positions.
No, we did. Maybe I shouldn't have used word liaison.
Reporting to.
Report. Chairman usually does the chief of police. So we got rid of the liaison, but if there was a catastrophic event, the chief of police would notify the chairperson, and that's how we settled on it. The chairperson would notify the chief would notify the chairperson, like a fatality or something, and then the chairperson would notify everybody else. And so
For
correct.
like a catastrophic event. Okay.
For that catastrophic event, correct. Or something that happened in town that he needed the board to know immediately.
Okay.
Then the evaluations, the way that we've done it all different ways. It depends. The chairperson has done the chief, the chairperson has done the town administrator, and sometimes the chairperson has done the finance. We've asked for input. Joe in the past has just done it and presented it to us and already met with the people and just presented it. I think you did the same thing and presented it to it. Others have asked for, Scott, I'm sorry, not John. Scott has done the same thing, met with the person and come in and done it. Others have asked for selectmen's input as to, do you have any glaring things that you would like to put in on the evaluation suggestions or ideas or whatever? And then we'd send them to you, or send them to the chair and do that. And then you'd write them up, show them to us, and then critique it. That can be a lengthy process. That's like 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's very lengthy. So that's why it kind of got settled down into, oh, the chair does it. And that's kind of where we're at. But it's up to the board how they want to do it.
Mr. Chairman, may I just impart something? I've done a little research on this only because you and I and the chief sat down, and I was very concerned about some things that I was hearing. And unfortunately, over the years, I've been 30 out of, or 27 out of 40, I was in the positions that I was. But our board, this board needs to remember, you are part of the appellate process under our HR policy and regulations. So my suggestion is that as the people that I am going to do evaluations on as your town administrator, I'm going to impart my thoughts into their review after they've done their self-evaluation. And then I'm going to meet with them again, and they're going to go over it, and they're going to be able to sign it if they like it, and or if they don't like it, and comments. But should an employee, and this is only a for instance, should an employee that I do an evaluation on say, I don't agree with your evaluation, and I would like to discuss this with the Board of Selectmen, you cannot be influenced prior to that. When I was the sheriff, all the uniform people were hired and fired by me. And the HR policy, federal policy and regulations is that the department head, the person making the recommendation, and in this case, I'll use the chief because he's sitting here, or Shane, and make their recommendations, and that comes to the board. And the board does not, you obviously look over the review, and if you have questions, you ask the chief, but that the board does not participate in the evaluation itself. You see where I'm concerned with that? Because you're part of the appellate process?
Well,
No.
I think we're talking about a few different
Two
things.
different
You know,
things.
whether it's public works workers that report to Shane
Right,
or that. But with department heads,
right.
we've always, and I've seen, I think Joe did Jeannie's a couple
Mhm.
times.
Yep.
We've kind of volunteered or appointed individuals that are
Yeah.
on the board
Right.
to, Pat would say, oh, I'll do Tim.
Yep.
Okay.
You could say, I'll do Abe and that, and then you do it. Then we all get together because
Yeah.
they report to us. We all get
Right.
together. We look at that, what you wrote, and critique it a little bit if we need it. Do we all
Right.
agree? Yes. And then you go talk to them.
So that's just with department heads?
Department heads.
Okay.
Everything
No,
else has
we
all
do
been.
this with employees as well. And I mean,
We'd be here to Christmas.
right, I mean, for me, I don't care if it comes to me after the employee signed it or before. If I have a comment and I want something changed, I'm going to say it. But these reviews are being done on behalf of the Board of Selectmen so we can determine raises.
Right.
Not so someone else can tell us what raises,
Hmm.
so that the board can determine that. And I mean, over these years, I've seen it so many times. We get a review on some employee, whether it's a department head or not, an employee. And it almost always is a selectman that doesn't agree with that review and it gets changed. So the question is, should it be changed before the employee sees it or after? I mean, I think to be fair to the employee, it should be done before they see it. So
Okay.
for me, when the evaluations are done before the employee sees them, they should come to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay. So,
And then we either agree, disagree, and then it goes back. That way the employee
points.
doesn't go, oh, wow,
Oh, you
what a
just changed-
bummer. I got a really great review, and now all of a sudden it comes back from the Board of Selectmen, and they're not quite so happy with me.
And if that
That's
is the case,
unfair.
Catherine, may I play devil's advocate for a while? That employee is then going to say, the board is already tainted, so my appellate rights are violated because you are the final decision makers.
But this is not HR, this is not union, this is just, to see if they want, what kind of raise we're going to give them. And that has happened. We've had employees that have disagreed with their evaluation after the selectman department head was done with it. And they came to the Board of Selectmen and we had that conversation and
We have changed them.
very productive. And we have changed it because information was given to us that we didn't have. And sometimes we didn't. We gave information back to the employees saying, now, wait a minute. And it was a very good process. It was a very learning process. It's not, it's just not that. I mean,
Never seen one. Work.
these are our evaluations for the Board of Selectmen to determine raises.
Yes, I would agree that you can determine the raise or not raise, but I believe that the determination should be made by the department head to the board and say, X, so-and-so, I don't agree with, and I put it in his evaluation. And I instead of giving them a 3%, we're going to give them a 1%. And then that employee, the chief writes that, and he comes to this board, and this board says, well, okay, we agree with you, chief. He should only get a 1%. Now that employee's appellate process, because you are the final arbiter of the decision. So when the chief tells that person no, I don't agree with, or the person tells the chief, I don't agree with your evaluation of me, I would like to pursue my appellate rights. You are the first order. You are the first stop to say, I, as an employee, work for that man and I disagree with what he wrote in my evaluation. You can't be biased. You see what I'm saying?
No, been there, done that. That's happened.
How
my
would you,
20
in,
plus years.
in that particular case, how would you not, who would do the evaluation? Who would, in that particular case, the chief evaluates
His people.
his person.
Yep.
He decides, I can't give you a 3%. I'm only going to give you a 1%.
Yep.
Who do you want it to go to after that?
It goes to this board.
No. Who do you want it to go to?
Who do I want it to go to?
What are you suggesting it to go to?
I suggested the chief, when he makes his determination, he sits down and puts that in the evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
And then the evaluation comes to this board, and this board says, yay, we agree with the chief, or no, we don't agree with the chief. And if you say, no, you don't agree with the chief, that ends it. But if you agree with the chief,
Mm-hmm.
and the chief goes back and says, listen, the board ruled that you are not going to get 3%, you're going to get 1%. That employee now, if you read the union, the CBA, the union officers,
Yeah, we wrote it.
Yeah, that's in that agreement. Non-union employees have the same appellate rights.
And they do, they come to us.
Right. That employee can come to you, but if you're reviewing that and then siding with the chief, how does that person appeal that process if they want to?
They come to the Board of Selectmen. That's what's been done
Okay,
year after year after year. mean,
I see what you're
we
saying, Scott.
had,
Yeah.
I do
we
understand what
had
you're
a
saying.
department head,
I,
you're gonna remember this,
Yep.
years ago. And it was obvious that they were very biased on a couple of employees.
mhm.
right.
And they were passed over for raises and not treated very well.
No training.
Yeah, and it wasn't the employees' fault.
Right. It was,
So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
no,
But I guess what I'm trying to figure out is once he does the evaluation and he speaks with this person, how then, who do you want him to go to instead of the Board of Selectmen if we're the appellate?
no,
If we don't want to uh, void their appellate rights,
right.
how would you suggest it to go?
Well, the appellate rights are you're the final decision.
Correct.
This board
So
is the
then in
final.
that case, if the chief evaluates that person, then how would you expect us to do the final? Who's in between? You?
No, there's nobody in
That
between.
goes right to us.
It goes right to you.
So
and if
I'm not sure what
We don't-
difference we're
we
doing.
don't change anything that's
Right.
given to us.
right,
So, okay, I see what you're saying. So
Yeah.
we're doing everything that we've been doing,
And it's
Except we're
worked
not allowed
well.
to change it.
except we're not allowed to change anything.
right,
Oh, yeah,
Well, in
that-
some instances, the department head has come in and said, excuse me, have a 3% and you're only going to get a 1%. And we said, excuse me, I think we've seen him do this, and this. I think he deserves the 3%.
that's what I'm concerned with. That's what I'm concerned with. Because of the chief, Eric and I had this discussion, and Tim in my office, is if it's an extreme situation, if there's something that somebody like Catherine just said, that somebody's being treated inappropriately, then by all means, I think obviously that's what this board is for. What I'm concerned with as your HR administrator is that we take that right away from them. They still have the right to go to, somebody would still have the right to file a suit against us or file a labor action, an employee, if we did that. But what I'm saying is uh, making the suggestion that unless we think the department heads are not capable of doing that, that when they come in, they say, here's my 20 employees, and this board reads through 20 of them as quickly as you can, and the department head says, this is my recommendation on each of them. And if there's one that sticks out, then say, and I'd like to talk to you about one that sticks out, whether it's bad or good. You know what I mean? I guess what I'm trying to do is, as we have a short window of opportunity, and in fundamental fairness to employees, I don't want this board being tainted. If I came in and said, somebody that reports to me, you know what? I don't want to give them a raise. I don't want to give them a raise. This board can say to me, tell me why, Scott. Okay, I'll tell you why. And I justify it. And this board says, we don't agree with you. That employee's getting the raise. That's fine. That's all well and good. And not that I plan on doing that. But I just, I have some knowledge here. Maybe it makes me dangerous. And I was trying to simplify the process so that the board doesn't get bogged down in these minutia things.
It's
But
interesting with all the town administrators that we've had in 18 years, this has never been brought up as an issue. It's fascinating to hear. I appreciate it.
yep. Well,
So, Scott, I'm wondering, because I know we've talked about it and I understand where you're coming from, and I do raise that bit of a concern. They also have a lot of knowledge and they've been doing this a long time.
sure.
And so is there a way that, because I know you brought up that there's documentation or there's information out there that states those types of laws and whatnot. Could you narrow it down to try to provide that information?
Yep. I
So
can.
that
There's no law that
if-
governs how we give raises and evaluate our
That-
employees.
That's not
No.
union stuff, but this
Because
is-
we don't evaluate the union employees.
No, we don't.
That's
We just
contractual. It's
non-union.
automatic.
just
That's correct.
non-union.
That's up to the chief.
Right.
That's his purview.
And that's what I'm suggesting the board do with everybody.
No.
I had
They're not-
non-union employees and union employees at the sheriff's office when
no.
I was sheriff. I had 85 employees. And that's how we did it. We did it, you know what, if something stood out, and if the chief has a unionized employee that has an issue, we're gonna do it by the union rules. So basically what my thought process was, and I will do obviously whatever this board tells me to do. I'm not trying to change policy or take power away or anything. I'm just trying to make a suggestion that I've been told in Tilton in the past, we tend to get bogged down with these things, and it, last year was the exception to the rule. I was told that it went reasonably well, and I'm
the only
fine
thing we
doing.
get bogged down is the actual
Timing.
form, the
Yeah.
form itself. And
It was,
the biggest issue
yeah.
is that one
agree with you.
supervisor might go in and say, so their ratings of employees, and this is one of the things why we look at it, they will think that everybody is a 10 if you're going 1 to 10.
Yeah.
That everybody, and then some of them say, well, nobody ever walks on water. Nobody is way above and perfect and all that. So they consider an 8 as
Right.
what a 10 does.
Right.
So we make sure that and then they were going and taking that and multiplying it to get the raise. We want to make
Right.
sure, and we've always make sure everybody gets a fair share.
Oh yeah,
at the
I know
raises
I
and
know that. Yeah.
But also, when you have such a small number of employees,
Mm.
that everybody is judged on the same scale.
That's what's important.
And if somebody is
Thank you.
excellent across the board, that nobody's more excellent than somebody else who's already top excellent.
Right.
You
Right.
we try and keep everybody on.
Sure.
And that's the reason
And
why
that's
we
fair.
look at them.
And
Yeah.
we all
And also
interact with our employees differently.
And that's very fair. I don't.
So-
sure
But-
there's things like
And if there's a problem, as you said,
Yeah.
they can go to the Department of Labor.
Right.
I think that
And it's never been a problem.
I think this conversation started out with Eric, first time chair, wanting to know
Who he evaluates.
who he evaluates and how does that evaluation process for him
Mm.
happen with the board.
Thank you.
And I think that he's owed that answer.
Well, I think it's simple.
Yep.
They do the evaluation.
Who's they?
So
So let's say I'm doing.
sometimes it's the chair that does it,
Okay.
and sometimes it hasn't been. The chair hasn't wanted to do, so some other selectman does it. And
Hmm.
quite frankly, anybody
split
that
'em
wants
up.
to volunteer to do it, I'm all for it. I don't want to.
Yeah.
But once you do the evaluation, it is my opinion that it should come back to the Board of Selectmen before the employee sees it again, to be
Mhm.
fair to the employee.
So that's your opinion.
That's just my opinion. It's been done
I guess
both ways.
but here's that in and of itself, because I'm a person that I like things written out, and I like a process, and I like to know what that process is because it needs to be repeated, right? Until every time it's always done the same way, unless
I don't think it can be repeated because you have not had enough time with these employees to evaluate
That's-
them. So you're
exactly.
dependent on us.
right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, and that in there is my question. So, as a new chair, I think there should be some type of written out process that should say whatever as a chair.
Okay, Tim.
This is how X, Y, and A, B, C, you go right through the list, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever. And if that process is getting input from the other selectmen who have been here longer, right? Then that would be part of the process.
That want to give input.
That want, right, that
Right.
want to give input.
Well, first of all, the chair is not designated to be the person to do
Right.
reviews. The
Right.
chair is only to
Right.
run the meeting.
It's the
So we
evaluator.
sit together, we say, hey,
Hey, you want to do it? Right.
you want to do, can
Yeah.
you do, this person, you want to do that? He'll do that.
So
You ever
that's-
get together with
That's
Tim?
good. So that's good. And,
And we use a form.
and
a
that's
very
good.
specific
But here's
form.
the thing.
Eric, I
I
have
didn't-
something to say. To
I
you.
didn't know any of that. Right. So
Hallelujah
so
for
I-
writing a process, because in my 20 plus years, it's been this way and this way.
Well, so
and
that's
this
my-
way and
that's
this
my
way.
question. Like,
You could,
So,
there's
yay.
2 people going up for election next year, and the board could change, and the process could change. You're not gonna, it's,
But once
well,
we write it down,
but I think
it's a
but why would
written
the
process.
but why would the process change? Though?
because it can.
but
Because we've never written it down.
But if it's an evaluation, you would think that you would want to do an evaluation the same way every time.
Yes.
Maybe.
We use the same
So-
form.
It would save a lot of time.
It took us about 8 years to change the
If-
evaluation form.
If I may,
Go
can I
ahead, Tim.
throw my 2 cents in? Because I got a couple of cents over here.
About processes?
About the entire thing, because I think as you're talking about this, what I think has worked well is, and particularly for the board's direct reports, where you have people that report directly to you, it does make sense for the board, the entire board, to review whoever has written up the review of the direct report before it's reviewed with the employee. But then generally speaking, the one person meets with that direct report employee, be it the town administrator, finance director, chief, or otherwise. Where what really matters though, in this whole process, that it's not, I don't look at this about the money. The whole process of this evaluation is to really help people understand their performance and where they are, and give them a status update, and have a really useful conversation between the manager and the employee to know how you're doing, what you could be doing differently. They rate themselves. You meet with them to have that discussion. And really what you're trying to do is to help bring them along in areas where they're weak, praise them in areas where they're strong, make sure that they've got a development plan. So from that standpoint, I personally think the manager-employee conversation is really crucial, and in rare times should it ever be changed by the board. Money-wise, absolutely, that's your prerogative. And and you have a department head come to you, review, this is how my recommendations for the distribution of merit. And but that's where I think there are 2 nuances there, because I really think that's what employees are looking for too. They want to know from the person that sees them work most often, how are they doing?
Mhm.
And then also in terms of the board's direct reports, generally speaking, board members, whoever's doing the evaluation, will talk to their peers or other people that they interact with on a regular basis to get more information about that employee. And so even though you have a new board member, let's say, who's going to be doing the evaluation, they can still cull that information from the peers. And in prior years, there have been years when there have been peer reviews. So, I did Jeannie's, Jeannie did mine. They were provided to the board. There are different ways that it's been done. But I do think it's important that you get that kind of feedback from people, not just how you as the board see them, but also how they interact with others that they work with on a regular basis.
And that's the way we've been doing it. We have a form. It's pretty
Self-eval.
involved.
Yeah.
We have a form that we do.
Oh,
Simple now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's written out. the person we appoint to do that with Tim or Scott or Abe,
Mm-hmm.
then they write down all the stuff, and they do it. They bring it to us and say, hey, is there anything I missed or anything, so that because we're all one, not
Right.
an individual.
Yeah.
But that one person was appointed to be the scribe and get it going.
Yep.
We all look at it. We say, well, I think you forgot about this that they did and that they did. And they also did that. Or,
Right.
and that works together. We come to a consensus, and then that person goes back and meets with the individual. And like Tim said,
So when I sent out the email about asking about input to do Scott's, I got something from you, and then I got something from you that they were different. So I just want to make sure that,
Well, mine wasn't about the process. It was,
oh,
I missed the whole conversation at that meeting because I was signing documents during a meeting,
so,
which I won't do again.
no, you won't.
just going for it.
All right. So,
This has taken longer than the AM Groton
yes.
conversation.
That- we-
Described
we spent-
very
just a
close
question.
to what we've done,
Mhm.
and it works very well. Because after all, most of us as selectmen have interacted with our employees and, have opinions of them
Mhm.
before we determine raises or not raises.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm coming in the middle of this, so I'm just trying to get caught up to speed. The evaluations, are we evaluating as the board, the department heads and the department heads doing their team? And that's
Yes.
all we're talking about right now,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're all
So the town administrator does some of the department heads.
Shane and,
His direct reports.
In me,
right, and you, yeah, and Sue,
right.
and Amy,
So, yes.
and Amy.
Yes and no.
Okay. All right, thank you.
His direct reports then
Right.
that
Yep.
he would do.
financial, police, administrator, and DPW director.
And
So-
we decided you could
Land use
do some of
coordinator.
the evaluation.
So here's, all right, so here's the,
Just kidding.
I
You have to do
report to
about
him.
50 a year, so.
so here's the question. Who will
Who does?
spearhead the,
Yeah.
the department heads?
Shane reports to
Is that
him.
a question we need to ask? Who's going to pick to do
These
that?
three.
No, the department heads, we just say the evaluations are due by blah, 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 and
And then they do.
they
'em.
do their thing.
They do them.
Yep.
But what we
But
need
who do
to
they
dis-
send them to?
They sent
When
town,
they do their, when they do that self-evaluation thing, who do they send them to?
the town administrator.
no, the self-evaluation goes to the department head and the department head looks it over and has a
But what if the
conversation with them.
self-evaluation is done by the department head, or I mean, done by that individual?
They do. Self-evaluation.
So let's just use an example. If Scott did a self-assessment,
Well, that's what we're talking about
That's what I
now,
mean.
the
Who does
the
he send that to?
administrative
Himself.
portion of
He
it.
collects them for the
No,
board of
no,
selectmen.
he's
No,
not
it's about
talking
his own-
about,
his own.
That's what I'm
He
saying.
writes his own.
He
I
doesn't
assume
send
you
it to
turn that into
anybody
the
else
board.
but the board of
I would assume.
selectmen. Because he technically is our employee.
right, so he would kind of
We're his
turn it
department
into,
head, if you will.
hopefully, one of us in the board of selectmen that would
that's what I'm
kind of,
saying.
Well, it would be who's going to evaluate him.
I was told to send it to Eric.
So the evaluator,
Right.
right. We had,
this year it's you, so the evaluator would get it,
right,
but all the
Evaluator,
others
okay.
would go to him to come to us.
correct.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, the
Right.
board has 3 direct reports, and we're sitting here right now. Each of us reports directly to the Board of
That's
Selectmen
correct.
per the job descriptions.
Right,
Then they go
Okay.
to Eric, who,
So they go to me,
correct.
yep,
and then I send them to you guys.
well, you give them to the town administrator who collects them because they're confidential.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm totally missing something.
I think you're asking about the three,
I
these
am.
three.
So
These-
if,
these
so
three
if, so if Scott does his self-evaluation,
And
Is
send
it
it.
directly to you?
he sends it directly to me. Where I don't want to make a mistake of not sending things to everyone. So who do I send that to?
You
No
do
one.
it at a meeting in
Because they're-
non-public.
Okay,
They're
that's what I want to make sure.
confidential.
And that's what I thought.
That's
I
why
just
they go
wanted
to
to
the
make
town
sure.
administrator,
Okay.
who
Right,
takes care of the confidential documents,
That's what I wanted to make sure.
correct.
even his own.
Right.
All right.
And I think I can
Okay.
be trusted.
So that's what I wanted to make sure.
Now,
And
you can,
that's
you can easily ask input from us because you
At that
haven't
meeting when we're all together.
been with them for a long time. Do you have any input that you want us
so
to
here's
include?
the next question. If we're doing you're coming in on the 12th for your employees. Okay. And we have to get everyone's done before July,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
So when do I have to set up a meeting once I receive those with everybody to talk about it?
Fit it in.
Okay. So it'll be an emergency meeting?
No, not emergency meeting, just fit it in with one of the regular meetings, like,
Fit it in.
just fit it in
Okay.
after the meeting, whenever it is.
Okay. All right.
In,
I
if
mean,
we
you're
don't,
talking to a group who's not gotten evaluations done until what, September one year?
yeah, we do it retroactive.
August?
So I was told that we shouldn't have it that late.
And they were retroactive.
No,
Everybody knew
we
they were gonna
should,
get
but
a.
sometimes we're.
That causes a great deal
All right.
of chaos
So now
on
I
my
have some
end.
direction.
We do it retroactive if it's late.
Although the employees enjoy it because they get this check that's inflated artificially.
All right. So now I have some direction. You on the same page with me?
I am. Yep.
You on the same page?
Well, can I just speak for 1 second?
Oh
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
No, real quick. So I only
We're
have.
already over time, and I'm
Well,
on.
we're over time, but I just wanted to get some clarity because I was handed 6 days ago, so I've already put it out to my people. We have 20 evaluation to be done. I'm 12. Well, tomorrow's the 30th, so I'm already on a crunch time. So our process was obviously we got the evaluations. Amy had got those to us. We hand those to the employees. So once the employee receives those evaluations, is how we kind of did it. Distribute the evaluations to the respective employees. I don't care if they're patrol officers. Everybody's going to get those.
Yep.
Remind the employees to complete the self-evaluation and include an outlining of 3 goals at the end of that in the final question, okay? The very end, it's going to be 3 goals. At the deadline, those employees, most of them patrol, will give those and submit those self-evaluations by June 2nd.
Yep.
To their supervisors, all right? And then the supervisors will then review each employee's self-evaluation, who they have, and each division in our area has at least 3. So I have 3 people, lieutenant has 3, dispatch has their, and the patrol breaks it up with SRO and then the patrol officers. So then they would review those, kick those off, and right there, right at the top, this is a supervisor, whoever's doing their evaluation, they're going to do the summary, prepare the summary. All right. And then they hand those to the lieutenant and I, and we go through all of those evaluations, all 20, we check them all out. Everything's good to go. We don't put anything for money wise. Obviously for the non-union, the union employees are already they already have, I think it's 4% this year. That's already locked in, good to go. We get those. We then I would come, and now we've decided the 12th I would come to you people, the board, and I would then tell everybody we do our evaluation thing, and then hopefully everything's good to go. On the 13th, I would have those ready to go. That would be a Friday. I would meet with, and I would distribute all those to those supervisors, all the reports. They then meet with their officers, and then they go over everything from top to bottom. So that's kind of how I put it out, because I only had so much time to do it, and we're in a crunch. So I just want to kind of say that process. If anything you hear needs to be changed, at least have a little bit of time to kind of dial it back or figure it out. And that's kind of how the whole point of this, when talking with everybody, was trying to get a system. Police are military based. It's system. It's all about system. It's just repetitive.
I
all
think
the
it's
time.
a perfect, I think it's a perfect scenario. If you come up to a crunch, we can always hear the contractual people at the end of the process. I mean, all of us, because they're contractual and they already have a set whatever. But we hear the non-contractual people first. And then if we need to push a couple at the end of the process, let it be the contractual because they're already set in stone. We just want to hear their performance and things like that.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to get away from. Not to be, it was just, I'd like to
Yep.
get it all sealed up and done in one night, or at least within a time. I usually take the same vacation. I've done it at the same time as
Yeah,
my
you can do
anniversary, and I do it, and I'm gone until after the 4th of July. I've depended on the officers. I would do the non-union employees. I would come see the boards. This is what would go on for the people, and I would sit down, and when I would do that, but then I would have to put the lieutenant and the sergeants to come in here. And I'm fine with it, and then sit down with the board and go over all those evaluations that they did. And it just seems like it just drags on. And then, then it gets Tim jammed up because he's trying to get this done by July 1st. And then before you know it, we're getting into August, where it's just, it'd be nice to be able to just have it set up. And if we can get it all, and the way I have it written, I just wrote, for our people, it's good. They know exactly the time, the dates that they're gonna, and then boom, 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 and it's done. And
I
then
like that
rinse and
process,
repeat.
Chief.
So.
Thank you.
Might I say from the beginning, that's what we were trying to solve
Mhm.
together, all of us. So
Wow.
maybe I did it. Maybe I took the long way around the lake.
A long way.
I think you went to Wolfboro and back.
It was a beautiful view, though.
All right. All right. So I feel better about it.
I'm glad
So-
you do.
Having said that, have we gone and appointed or accepted volunteers as to who's doing
Yeah,
whose
Eric,
reviews?
Eric's doing,
Have not.
Eric's doing, well, we already decided that a few weeks ago. You're doing the town administrator.
Oh,
and-
yes, we did a few
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
We did talk.
So that was the meeting I wasn't here.
Yeah. And then we appointed
that-
you for everything else.
That
Jim.
wasn't,
No.
that wasn't an emergency one.
No,
That
it
wasn't
wasn't.
the emergency.
No.
meeting.
No.
No,
I
it was
was-
a meeting, we
was-
signed all those documents, because
Yeah.
that's what I was doing,
Yeah.
and I
Yes,
missed,
you were.
I
That's
missed the
right.
whole conversation.
Yeah, you were.
So
Evidently, we did choose Eric to do it.
Eric
No, I'm.
does the town
appointed
administrator
me.
And thank you, Eric.
and the chief.
Job I hate.
And the chief, yeah. And
So I'm
Tim,
doing these two?
3.
I'm doing,
I sent you Tim's.
You do 3.
you
Yeah.
did, yeah.
3.
Yeah.
What
I did
the-
not send you the chief's because he will send you that directly.
My
But-
self-evaluation will go right to you. That's what I
Yes,
did last year. I
yes,
sent that
yes.
to Tim.
But you know, if you and
You
same-
guys like are killing me. So
Because
now
they're-
I go from like being new to now I gotta do 3.
Welcome to the chair.
Baptism by fire.
The head that wears the crown, huh?
Where are you in this?
So you can reappoint
Next.
to John. See how much we enjoy it. But you know, you have all the support from us because after you do it, we'll get together. We'll
You'll
discuss.
do
it.
great.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
if you-
We'll help you out.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do
Yeah.
fine.
Oh, we're gonna discuss it all.
And the other thing is, you have the forms, right? Have you haven't,
No, I haven't seen him.
he hasn't even seen the form yet.
Seriously?
I think you should show
Why would
him
I need to see the form?
old form first.
serious? He hasn't seen the form?
You have the form.
You have
That
the-
self-evaluation thing?
Yes.
Oh,
That's
that's
it.
the form? Oh, all
That's
right.
the form.
That's, all right.
See the old one.
If,
I don't
if
want to
you,
see the old one.
Oh.
if you wanted
No,
to
you don't.
Bizarre.
save the chair time, you could have peer review to make it quicker to provide
They
you
don't
with
want
a
to save
peer
time
review,
for me.
and then you guys
Let's
discuss
just
it.
get her done.
So there's going to be one thing that when it comes up that I always ask for is we always have goals, but I want to see the completion of the previous year's goals. What were the goals from the previous year and were they completed?
Yeah, so on that new form, Tim and Amy, they all get together and they actually,
Yeah.
there's a section that actually says the
There is, yeah.
completed goals. And what we do is we always do the goals throughout the years. And that's what was hard to figure out. When are they going to put the goals in there? Are you going to meet with the officer? That was hard with our old form. With the self-assessment, they can assess, they can put their goals in. And then there's a section that the supervisor then will do the summary. And below that will say, these were the goals that they had in the prior calendar year. And I do a spreadsheet every year for that to show each officer, so I don't have to go through everybody's file and look for those. You can see every officer and what their 3 goals were and see if they're accomplishing those goals. And then we'll add those in there. So in one, probably 2 pages is going to have everything your heart is going to desire,
Okay,
and it's going to be good.
perfect.
Swift and easy.
All right, okay. Woo! Where's that gavel?
Evaluations.
Okay,
over.
Where's that gavel? I feel like I need to hit it.
Jump right
What-
over there.
what-
Planters.
What,
Wait.
one last thing.
You're killing me.
No, and it's on your list if you look at it. Was the legal services policy. I gave you copies,
Oh
asked
my
for comments. I do have copies again, if you need to review them again, but I would like to get this done so we could get it instituted. Catherine gave me feedback. She said she was 85% happy with it. And I didn't hear from anybody else, but
I don't even know.
I
what
gave
mine
them
is.
to you 2 weeks ago, but I do have, it's relatively clear. We went over it, but
Oh,
You have copies? Because I don't see it in here.
Thank you.
I think it was just.
Would it be in here? Oh, is that what it was? Just
Can
a
we,
handout?
Handout. not-
it was a, yes.
can we just put it on our list for the next meeting and get her done then?
No,
Oh, jeez, I don't have
please.
mine with me.
Yeah, we've got it.
You got it right there.
Some decisions because we
Yeah,
got
the
some,
one that has my notes on it. I think it's in my car. All right, well, this is going to take time.
Oh, yeah, I did read this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was good with it.
As was I.
That's right. I did read this. Once I started reading, I'm like, yeah.
John signed and Pat signed because we had it in the sign folder last time, and then Selectman Dawson caught it and said, "Wait a minute, you trying to sleek this
Yeah,
in
sneak
there?"
that one right
I-
in.
And I did not realize Amy had put it in there. So,
Right.
but
Sure.
but
I may change my mind.
yeah,
We need you to rewrite the whole thing
yeah.
right now.
Well, the artist of that, I cannot take credit for. The artist who was sitting across the room when I called it.
So the chief did it?
No, all the way across the room. When I called it a boilerplate. He took my head off.
Uh-huh. I witnessed.
You saw it. You saw it. Finally crafted document. In the same breath, he asked me to do his evaluation.
Okay, Catherine,
with a little bit of nudge.
what you got there?
Oh, she's got something.
Oh, am I the only one?
Yep.
So number 2,
Two. Okay.
Number 2.
you have, which I really like, but consult with one of the existing resources, and you only list 2, and it sounds like those are the only 2 available. Not
Primex and NHMA. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
New Hampshire Economic Development will provide counseling for planning and zoning. They answer questions.
BEA will, BEC will
Yeah.
as well. But this was targeted specifically at attorney consulting.
Yes,
So-
but sometimes the planning, so if this, a lot of times questions will come up from boards and commissions like planning and zoning that don't necessarily need an attorney to answer them. It could be procedural or whatever.
Right.
That even Lakes Region Planning might be able to answer.
Yes,
Or,
right.
as I said, New Hampshire Economic
Right. Yeah.
answer.
Right.
So that's why I say we should not limit, because it's not always an attorney that's needed.
Right. Any resources that we can access
That's what
is the
So this
is the goal.
shouldn't just limit it to 2.
Okay.
Well, it was specific to who we pay money to.
True. Right.
So
Yes, but
those
again-
other resources are free.
Free.
right.
But
Like
it
the
could
New
be,
Hampshire Municipal Association. So I'm just saying, there are other free ones out there that we can get answers from.
Right.
And not all questions require an attorney.
Correct. That's correct.
Number 3, I don't know, as we've assigned $1,500 for department head expenses per case or event. I don't know as that's how
Per
we
policy.
divided up our legal line, legal expense under administration. The legal expense in land use was not necessarily for litigation or an attorney. It was for if the planning board was going to be updating the master plan and they needed some advice, they might need to contact someone and say, hey, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
you know, which may not be an attorney, et cetera, or, you know, an engineer that the applicant wasn't going to pay for. I'm
Right.
just saying, so we shouldn't allow that. So, and we certainly shouldn't dip into the PD's legal line. So I don't know where the $1,500 came from.
Well, so again, that's based on
Per
the
policy.
purchasing policy, and it was designed to put it in writing so that it's clear that either the board allows it or doesn't allow it.
Right.
And the reason for allowing it would be that department heads have the ability to access other forms of service organizations that provide service. It doesn't necessarily guarantee that service is going to correct whatever needs to be corrected in that one service event. So this is a different type of service. Again, it's intended to make sure it's memorialized, that it's clear that that's allowed.
That's the
So we
cap.
have not assigned department heads $1,500 legal expense. We have not done that. We require estimates for what anything over $1,500. But I'm saying is this would lead a department head to think, oh, I've got a $1,500 legal line. They do not
Per case.
per case, and they do not.
So the purchasing policy does not exclude legal services.
Right.
Let's remember it's the selectmen's budget.
Completely understand.
Okay, so again, we have not assigned department heads $1,500 worth of legal expense. We have a legal line in the administrative budget, but we have not assigned it to, you know, little pots for the department heads.
Well, again, the whole purpose I understood for putting together the policy was to make it clear. And if the board's not in agreement with doing that, then certainly change it. But the idea was to make sure that it's all memorialized and what is allowed, what isn't allowed, how much is the threshold, so that it's very clear for everybody. I'm not saying that that's the be all end all. If you don't agree, the board, it's up to the board. Have it however you like it. But that was the suggestion for the policy.
I would be comfortable to leave it up to the town administrator to determine whether or not, you know, $1,500, $500, you know, and it depends on the attorney. I mean, we've never really had a town attorney, one. We have a bunch of attorneys. Some of them are very inexpensive for minor things, and we save money that way. So,
But it does specify the town administrators to monitor and manage that.
yes.
Right. So they wouldn't do it
A
without my.
department head looking at this and say, oh, I got a $1,500 budget for
Yeah.
legal.
Per
Yeah.
case.
Per case.
No.
For-
Yes, thank you.
So
Per
if they have
case.
10 cases, there's $15,000.
That's right.
And they don't need to actually get any type of approval. You just monitor it.
Right.
So you
No.
say, oh yeah, it was 1,500 or less. They're good.
So would you
1,500.
guys feel comfortable if we changed the language to
Prior to.
basically prior to the use of any, or prior to
Any legal
any legal
services,
service,
it's got to be approved.
that, because Catherine said she's good with the town administrator
Right.
being in charge of that. So her, the, department head getting that requirement,
Approved.
right, approved from the town administrator.
And then it would be my,
All you have to do is end it where it says, the town administrator should monitor spending, period. Take out so that it does not exceed the 1,500 department head expense cap per case or event. Just take it out.
that would be fine. And they would, and then my
Then your head will
obligation.
roll if you mess up.
Right. And my obligation is to tell the board, listen, I authorized Shane to spend $1,500 on an
Well,
attorney for crosswalks or
so-
something.
I've got a problem with that they shall monitor. So
It
The
should be
inf-
approved.
Yeah.
Should
the
approve.
Change
yeah,
that.
monitor shouldn't be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
approved.
That
No.
has to be approved.
Thank you. That's good.
Nope, very good catch. Yep.
Approve
Yeah, and then take out.
Is my scribe changing this?
this.
I'm looking
So
for the document.
the town administrator shall approve the spending
Yep.
On
period.
legal services. Yep.
or on legal services.
Well, it
Period.
says that above.
What, our current policy says they have to seek approval. No, excuse me, Tim.
It's,
It-
right, it
yeah.
says the town administrator shall approve
Approve.
the spending
Spending.
on legal services for
Right.
department legal services, health, welfare, land use,
Right.
whether services of consultation or enforcement, the town administrator shall approve spending.
Right.
Where enforcement is involved, the town administrator shall seek to recoup our attorney's costs from the opposing party.
Correct. Right.
Yep. Okay.
Instead of monitor, we just
Correct.
put it,
Is the
Put in the
consensus
two-
that
term
change
approved.
that? Does that sound better,
Yes.
everybody?
Well, let's see. It says the town administrator shall approve spending. So they're required to approve spending.
Correct.
But what if they say no?
It's up to the town administrator.
But,
It's up
no,
to the
this-
department head to go to the town administrator to approve
Right, for approval.
for
Right.
approval.
Right.
Whether it's or
Right. You have to go to the town administrator for
but-
approval.
well, it says, let's create Department of Legal Services, Health, Welfare, and Land Use, whether services.
Look
or
at number one,
consultation Or
John.
enforcement, the town administrator shall approve.
Right, look at number one, though.
So shall be a
The
license for
prime, the primary,
acquiring and approving
right,
legal services.
Right.
And one should probably say approving.
primary liaison to acquiring legal services.
Acquiring and approving?
Well, you already have approved down in number three.
But it says that the town administrator shall approve spending. So it doesn't say they have the choice. It says that they shall approve it. They can't have a choice to approve it. It says that they shall, they must.
What do you want it to say?
It should say
Has the discretion
has the discretion.
Oh, yeah. that's-
to approve
Yeah.
the spending on legal
Yeah.
services.
Yep.
That way,
that's-
basically, he can say, yes, I approve it, or no, I don't.
I don't.
Or
Right.
at the town.
And then they can come to
Or
you.
at-
I see what you're saying.
Or at the town administrator's discretion.
Right.
Something like, I like that.
Right.
Shall approve.
And
At the, yeah, how about that? At the town administrator's discretion. At the town administrator's discretion, there shall be, no, I don't like that either.
Legal services shall be approved. You just,
At the discretion.
Tim,
So I'm showing on 3A, for Department of Legal Services, Health, Welfare, Land Use, whether the services are consultation or enforcement, the town administrator has the discretion to approve spending, period. Where enforcement is involved, the town administrator shall seek to recoup our attorney's costs from the opposing party.
that's even better.
And no.
And then
amount-
so
How about the exceeding 1,500?
do you
That was
want it?
taken out.
That's taken right out, yeah. So number 3, right? The town administrator shall blank the spending on legal services.
Except,
How do you want it?
except the thing is that we do have that the selectmen will approve anything over $1,500 on something.
no, he already took that out.
I did.
No, yes, but we have that as a policy.
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
As a
Right, but this is
current
up
policy.
to.
But
This is
this
not
would
to exceed.
supersede that, John.
But
This,
when you read it, you didn't read the 1,500, right?
Well, Tim read it and he took it out
Right.
for this because
You didn't
Because
want
it's
it.
specific to legal. This policy is specific to legal. The other policy that we have for department heads is general. If I want to
Well, it
go
said
and
all
get a
spending.
motor, right, right.
But it didn't
exactly.
say, specifically said all spending, anything over $1,500, we get quotes. So now you're taking out the 1,500, so technically,
It could be more.
it could be $30,000 and he can, and I'm not saying you would, Scott, so don't take
No,
this.
no.
Because I know.
I know
Can
you
you,
would.
Tim, can you just put the 1,500 back in?
I can.
Please do
Uh,
that.
And I would
So I can
advise
read it.
changing on the headline of 3, the town administrator
Why
shall
is it
manage the
1,500
spending on legal
back in?
services.
Because I think John does.
No limit.
I think
Well,
John does.
but
bring it.
on number 5 on the next page, he notifies the Board of Selectmen at their next scheduled meeting of
Correct.
any such legal activities listed above, including. So, if next week something
Right.
happens as emergency and they have to hire an attorney, we're going to know at our next meeting.
Correct.
Right.
If it's an emergency, where it's that bad, I'd want to know.
Right. I mean, and I can't think of, usually it involves the Board of Selectmen if it's that kind of an emergency.
Yeah.
So we're always going to be aware of, because
Okay.
I was going to say that somewhere in here, and maybe it is under number 5, that it also includes the cost for
Correct.
those legal services that
Correct.
we're made aware of, that cost, because after all, it is our budget that they're spending. And that's how we monitor the cost. That's my thought.
All right. So take the 1,500. Don't put it
It's
back
out.
in. All right. Can you reread number 3, starting
Sure.
with the actual first part of it?
Right. So changing that one word that I suggested, the town administrator shall manage the spending on legal services. For department legal services, health, welfare, land use, whether the services are consultation or enforcement, the town administrator has the discretion to approve spending. Where enforcement is involved, the town administrator shall seek to recoup our attorney's costs from the opposing party.
Yes. I like that.
That's why we hired you, Tim.
Thank you.
That's right.
Are we in
We'll
consensus?
keep you-
That sounds good?
Yes.
Print it out.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you print it, Tim?
Oh, I'm
I want
sending it.
signatures.
Is there anything else on that?
No, nope,
Okay.
nope. And I am done. So
Well, except on number 5, like I said, we
You-
need to include something in there that we're made aware of the costs.
Well, you might not know if
Yeah.
something happened a few days before a meeting what the cost is,
No,
but you would ask
but you're going to
if you're being
know,
apprised.
we're going to know what attorney is being used.
Right.
And we typically know the rates of those attorneys.
right.
I think it'll be,
And if we know what the case is, or what, if it's just a question, we can say, oh, that's probably going to be about $500.
Yeah.
Usually typically if you're just asking a question,
Mhm.
or if it's a court appearance,
Mm.
we know those get
Ching ching.
costly.
Yeah.
But,
And you got to move that chair.
Thanks.
didn't want to print because it thought it was going to be making more changes.
Add a printer to this, please.
Did you want something in 5?
the other thing that I'm concerned about is I don't want to see an attorney teaching classes to any of our boards and commissions, because that's just a ridiculous expense. Where it's available to us in so many other ways that most often don't have a cost.
Except sometimes we have used, like under the right to know, we did have an attorney, what was his name?
Radigan? Oh,
Radigan,
cream.
Crean,
Right.
who came in and we did hire him too.
And we,
So sometimes I don't
yes,
want
but
completely.
we negotiated with him on that when Dan Crean came in, and we invited people of other communities.
I-
And the cost was very low. He wasn't because he also did that besides being attorney.
I
He
just
also
want to
did
make sure
that.
we don't eliminate,
Handcuff.
put in here, eliminate the ability to do it at all. That,
Right.
you know,
No,
the
but
district schedule.
I want to exhaust. I mean, just, I don't see the need. We haven't.
I know we
used
don't see the
Dan
need.
Green, what, 10, 12 years ago?
But here's the thing,
Be nice.
because we don't see the need right now, it doesn't mean that down the road, we there might be a need.
Yeah.
That's my only, and that's where I think if we set ourselves up in a way that if it's possible that we
We
may,
might have to say,
right?
like, if we exhaust everything else,
Right.
we might have to say,
You won't. In like
Boards and
20
commissions
20 some odd
change
years, you haven't.
with new people. You don't know.
Right.
New
That's-
experiences.
All right. Well, so I think we've beat that pretty good. You got the new one right there?
Is this the one we're gonna sign?
Could I have a copy of the new, of what we just did? Please, please, please. I don't know if everybody else wants a copy, but
It's,
Can you also,
this
Tim,
brain isn't going to remember.
could you email that to everyone real quick? Thank you. He's going to also email it to all of us.
I just want to keep it with my file.
So that way at least we'll have it and we can refer back to it if we need to. Okay.
Thank you for doing that. Scott.
Anything else,
You're
Scott?
welcome. Thank you. No, I am all set. I'm just texting Heather to come
Well, that was
upstairs.
easy.
All right.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that.
we need one of those buttons.
Like, all right. So we're going to move on to selectmen reports. We are only 45 minutes behind.
Really?
That's it.
That's
So
it?
we're moving right along. So Selectman Constantino, you are up first.
In the gist of time, I'm not going to do my public. I have 2 non-publics that I've asked for.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Selectman Dawson.
Well, I'm trying to bring it up on my, I've been using my phone.
It's not a flip
Wow. Wow.
phone.
Found it. I found it. Okay.
Somebody
So-
should have video.
This-
We need to like mark
Zoom in
this.
on it.
Yeah.
It
We
may not
need to-
happen again because I'm finding it much more cumbersome than just taking a pencil and paper. But I was challenged to do this, so. With this really has to do with planning, but it's Board of Selectmen too. With the legislative things that are going on as far as zoning, especially housing. It makes me concerned because one of the big questions for me, and I'm not pro or negative housing. I mean, I just don't have an opinion. But is it economically feasible for Tilton to have all the housing that we would if these legislative bills passed? People would be able to put multifamily units in the agricultural area all over. So I'm wondering if, and I guess it would be an economist, I don't know, who would determine whether this little town of Tilton needs economically more housing. If we can afford more housing,
Mhm.
it'll increase our police, our fire needs, more students in the school, more taxes. We also, we don't have sewer out in a lot of areas that are now really our last developable areas.
Mhm.
There's big stretches on Route 3. Well, there is a couple of big plots on Route 3 where there's no sewer that are vacant land.
Yeah.
So that's my concern. So I don't know who would conduct such a study as that to determine that, but I think that's going to be our only recourse for us to say, whoa, this is too much housing for the town of Tilton. And who's to say we don't have enough already?
So you bring up a good point. And so I sit on the Governance Council for Housing Stability. So these type of questions have come up before. I can reach out to somebody I know who could probably give me some direction to kind of get some information, I think, about that. Because I understand what you're saying. I get it. Um, let me reach out to him
Okay.
and see what I can have a conversation with him, about, and maybe we can get I can get you some answers or get everybody some
That would be great.
information at least as to
Yeah.
how we would.
Because if you look at the bills and
Crazy.
everybody's
Yep.
projecting.
What
that
does
they're
your
gonna-
friend do?
He works for the BEA,
Mhm.
and BEA. So, and he does a ton of trainings.
Nice.
So I can talk with him and see what he says.
The other is, so typically our flower barrels are out like by the 15th or so, the middle of May.
Thank you,
Okay.
Catherine. I forgot that one.
And maybe our public works director isn't aware of that. But also, did they refresh? And I think the answer is no, the flags in our cemeteries for our veterans.
They did not refresh the flags. I thought the American Legion did that. I thought.
I don't, and that's a good point. I
Yeah.
don't know. I
Yeah.
thought that we did it.
Mhm.
I thought Public Works did it.
Um,
They go out and do that first mowing, which is typically in the middle of May.
May.
right.
Right.
The Legion does. The Legion I know does the Park Cemetery because
Right.
I sit on
that's-
that committee.
Right. But I think our town cemeteries is done by Public Works. But if you could
Okay.
find
Yep.
out about those two.
Yep.
And
Shane does not do the barrels. Shane and I had a discussion.
he puts the barrels
Yeah.
out.
Yesterday. They put the barrels out, but last year, he told me last year that the Parks Commission did the railing at Riverfront Park.
Nope.
Conservation Commission.
Conservation Commission. Okay. And I did think it was Parks too, because
Conservation Commission.
Kathy Mitchell was there, and I remember seeing the picture, but she also was on Conservation Commission, so that explains that. But in my notes to you, in my report, I ask you, because I asked Shane, because there were comments that came about the Memorial Day Parade not having flowers downtown. And Shane said last year the merchants chipped in. He thought it was the Parks Commission that organized it and the merchants paid. But I told him Catherine and Helen do, and Bob Hardy do the monument here and the trough. But it was my understanding that the merchants paid for the flowers and then the Parks Commission put them in.
Nope.
Okay.
So last year, and I don't know who went around and asked the merchants if they'd like to plant a barrel. And some of them said yes, but there was either 4 or 5 barrels
Mhm.
that didn't get planted.
Correct.
So I planted them
Okay.
with flowers that I got from Bob Hardy. And
Right.
I think we red, white, and blue.
It was economic development that took charge of the barrels and planting the barrels. And then when Jeannie left and there was no economic development, there was nobody to plant the barrels. So somebody went around and asked the business owners that had barrels in front of them, and they took charge of some of the barrels that were in front of them, but there was some that weren't in front of stores and stuff. And that's what Catherine
Process.
stepped up.
Write it down so we know every year.
Right.
Well, like I said, it was different last
I
year
w-
because
Yeah.
Because people left.
people left.
I was going to ask the
Have it
board.
written down as a process, no matter if someone leaves.
I was going to ask.
Okay, Tim.
I'm just saying. Am I wrong? No, you're right. I'm just saying.
I was going to ask the board for permission to ask Bob Hardy, and I don't know if I know he has some physical issues sometimes, but I don't know if he has the ability to do that. And if not, then I was going to ask the board to allow me to instruct Shane and DPW to plant the flowers. And/or we can hire somebody else
We
if
don't need
Bob
to hire
Hardy
anybody.
doesn't do it.
Oh,
So,
you said it was the economic development, right?
Ching, ching.
right. I didn't say that.
So,
Pat did.
So
So-
Pat did.
again, last year, somebody went around.
You
and
don't
it
want me
wasn't
planting flowers.
And asked the merchants, do you want to plant your barrel?
Yeah.
I planted
barrel.
4 or 5 that didn't get planted.
Right.
All right.
Um,
So,
just because I do these out here, so it was just easy for me to do. And I don't mind doing that again. If that's what we want to do, I don't mind doing that. But
The nice thing
I
about
think-
having that process is people take ownership of it
yes,
when it's in
Right.
front of their store.
That's
and They
right.
make sure their plant's growing, it looks nice.
their water.
and the guy that plants the cucumbers in front of his was zucchini, Tim, right? Out here, he had the zucchini growing across the sidewalk. So,
So anyway,
might I ask the board, just we simplify it and I give Shane the authority to go to Lowe's or Home Depot or someplace and purchase petunias or gladiolas or
we're going to want to get them from
Yeah.
Bob Hardy
Yeah.
or
John.
John's
John's,
establishment.
right,
It's
right.
a lot less expensive. They're very hardy plants.
Yeah.
But
Right.
we set a precedent by letting those merchants plant those barrels. And they were very proud to do that. I
Yeah.
don't know as we should take that away.
Nope.
No, I think
Somebody
that's a
would have
great
to go
idea.
around
But
and
nobody's
ask them.
coordinating
But
it.
it's got to get organized.
That's the problem.
So
Right.
I think maybe as the economic development,
Mm,
I don't mind going around and asking.
Okay.
Need
And if
putting
you
it-
have some left over, I don't mind planting them because we'll be planting the circle.
I
As
don't-
soon as I get
volunteer.
notice of the plant.
There are certain stores that actually bought planters, so
Yeah.
make sure that they
They
do
donate it.
get a planter in front of their store. That's all. Because last year
Oh,
we
yeah,
heard
do we
about
And
have a
who
list of
puts
that?
those out? Shane?
Well, they don't
DPW
money to buy the planters.
DPW
yes.
puts
Puts-
the planters out,
puts the planters out,
but
Okay.
make
What
sure
do
that
they
they
do with
know
those
where they
planters?
go.
right?
I don't know.
Do
Last year,
do
we
they
just,
take control of them, or does
we
DP
take them back to Public Works.
we do?
It was
Okay.
a donation.
So we need to know.
So
The
when you go in and
businesses.
ask them and they say, yes, fine, that's fine. I wouldn't say, do you own the planter? Because they don't. The town of Tilton does. They donated money for the planters.
Right.
Might I
Just ask them if they'd like to plant the barrel. It's the easiest way.
might I suggest that I can instruct Shane to put potting soil in the planters if
Oh,
there's
yeah.
not some
Put
already?
them back where they got them
Got
last
'em.
year. They were
Right.
fine last year
Okay.
after he did it.
Okay,
Right.
all right.
So and he knows where they all are supposed to go.
Hopefully.
You just
Let's
go
hope.
back in the same place you did
He
last
did-
year and we'll be good.
Yep.
He didn't indicate that to me, but
He puts
We'll
them in the
find out.
spots.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll find
right.
out.
Big pictures of
Simple
Halloween or
business.
something where we can.
All right. Wow. And so we now have a sole source for paving. They're doing Morrison, which is great. My concern is we must be scheduled to do Maple Court and Poplar here soon, right?
yes, we will be after we get it corrected, after we get Maple Court corrected.
So corrected, I presume that's going to be addressing the drainage.
Correct.
And at one point, that was putting in a drain, an underground drain. Because if you go up there and look, and the berm that was created by Kevin, which was really nice looking, has
Mhm.
not been recreated.
Correct.
What has happened is that person who lives on the corner of Cedar and Maple Court, their lawn has been used about 18 to 20 inches and it's asphalt.
Right.
I'm sorry, it looks terrible.
Mhm.
But what's been done isn't working. The water is still coming off that hillside. Now we're going to get deluged, Saturday, I think they're predicting.
Yep.
I would suggest you
Heavy
go
rain.
look. The water's coming off. And even though that asphalt extends way in, you can see where it's eroding. It's coming down and still eroding it, running right on the other side, if this is the asphalt, on the other side, across the front of the garage and down. So there is drainage in Cedar. There's a basin right there at the
Yep.
end of Maple
Yep.
Court.
That was plugged up.
That could be dug up
Mhm.
and a drain put up at the top to catch it at that hillside. And I don't know if we need a catch basin at the corner of Poplar. I'm not a drainage expert, but it all runs downhill to Cedar, and it runs downhill at a very steep clip. You can't bank the road to the south or towards
Correct.
the river because the person who lives on the corner now, they're going to get wiped out by it.
Correct. I have a meeting with Jeff from R&D. I believe he's coming by tomorrow. I asked him, I went up and looked, and I instructed our DPW director to go down and clean out that drain that is on Cedar Street, which has begun eroding around it because it was plugged up, and the water was going down beside of it, which means it's going to end up in somebody's lawn right there. So I asked Jeff, only because I don't know, in Andover, I counted on Kevin Duvall, who addressed very similar problems to this. And I asked Jeff, and I let Shane know that I spoke to Jeff, because before we go paving anything up there, we want to get the drainage fixed.
Yeah.
So Jeff was going to meet with me. He said later this week. This is Thursday, and tomorrow's Friday. So I'm anticipating, hopefully he's going to come by tomorrow. We can go up and look at it, and I can pick his brain. And if he doesn't understand drainage, but he sat at one of these meetings one night and explained drainage on Morrison Ave, which I think he pretty well clearly understands that. So I'm going to be counting on his advice. And if he tells me another catch basin or something is going to work, because Shane wanted to build a berm, but Catherine just explained it very well. When I looked at it, that berm is going to push the water further down the road, and then they were going to pave it elevated to the right, which would have meant that water would have gone exactly where Catherine said, into that people's yard and washed that out. So before we even think about doing anything on Cedar Street, I want an answer from somebody who understands, one, what the problem is, and two, what the answer is.
And a berm should only be temporary. We should not
Correct.
be devaluating somebody's property with asphalt and berms.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Well,
just unconscionable.
Doesn't a berm be wiped out with the plow?
Yes, it can be. Yeah. So, I mean, we have an opportunity to do it right.
Right.
And
Yeah. And save the road.
I'm guessing the rest of my board members would like to know as well as I do what the
Okay.
conclusion is
Yep.
before we get to
Paving.
whatever date. And can we have a schedule of the paving
Yes.
projects for this year?
Yes. And
And
Shane
the,
is waiting on that
The
from
costs
Jeff. Yeah.
and whether or not they're going to be reclaimed or milled or.
Yep.
We do have reclaimed or milled
Right.
in our packages here,
Right.
Catherine. It's
That-
on one paper.
That came, Tim made a copy here
Okay.
of that a couple of weeks ago.
It says how
so-
many yards for each road.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the total cost.
Right.
Oh, it is in here?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
There's R&D under for review,
For review.
right here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, these purple pages?
No, this one right here.
Want the flag in the corner. It's,
Yeah, under for review, Catherine.
All right. Oh,
Yeah.
look, thank you.
Okay.
And also the stop sign at the corner of Prospect and Academy, you don't see it until you're about 3 feet from it because of the shrubbery. Because typically there's always somebody parked right there.
Right,
I
right.
came down Prospect and I was like, oh, right, I gotta stop here. And I'm like, where the heck's the stop sign? And like, I was probably, I'm exaggerating, maybe 5 or 6 feet from
Right.
the intersection. I said, oh, there it is in the shrubbery.
That's why I almost got clipped the other day. I told you
Yeah.
coming out of there, yeah.
So, we should do whatever we can. Can we trim their shrubbery?
Yeah, we'll try. We can ask them. Worst case they
Well,
can say is no, and if we feel it's a hazard,
it's a house.
and we got a right of way, 18-foot center line right of way statutorily. So
My other question is, my last question is, the water district agreement, I've brought it up before. We never agreed to it, the final language, or,
I was
We-
wondering the same thing.
yeah, are we
They
going
said it
to,
was all set.
Tim,
at the next meeting, can we review this? We're running out of time tonight.
That was,
At your brief meeting
At
on the
a- some-
12th,
At some time, because
you sent it to everyone, right?
it was
Maybe
sent
we
to
can
everyone.
meet next week. Instead of a brief meeting, maybe we can meet next week and we can go over that meeting, that document.
well, it definitely needs to be gone over.
yeah,
And I have a question on that. I've been reading through the estimate from the engineers, but are we repairing our wall, or are we repairing our wall and the water district's wall?
we have that quote today. It came in at 3:00 today, with it separated out what it's going to cost the water district to repair their wall and what it's going to cost us to repair our wall, and a complete overview. Tim and I are working on taking out again. We already did it once, taking out the things that we can handle to reduce the cost. But we asked them to separate it out. So it is going to be a complete buy-in from both the town and the water district, and on who's responsible for what before we execute a bid request.
Because I have the estimate from the engineers. This one is dated December 10th.
Yeah, it's
$338,891, and it is for the precast concrete modular retaining wall. I also have one for dated January 25th, and it is for the precast concrete modular retaining wall. And it is $81,420.
right. That was the first quote. We have a new one coming.
So you haven't yet again a third quote coming
Third, yes, it'll be a third spec.
from the same engineer.
Right.
Right.
But it doesn't tell you the lineal feet of wall.
The new one will.
Okay. I'm done.
Okay. So I almost think we're at a point now where we're probably going to need to meet next week. I mean, because you guys will get that.
I'm not sure. Tim, what do you think? I'm not sure that Brian can get that turned around with what Tim and I were gonna send back our subtractions from his quote for the town of Tilton. He has still not heard from the water district on if they're going to accept their version of it. Correct me, Tim, if I'm wrong, but I did think that that the water district did agree to the new updated document, that indemnification in document.
That's what was indicated to us by the superintendent of the water district.
Right.
However, I don't know that the commissioners have met and approved it. In fact, I believe Scott has been waiting for a response back from the superintendent on a number of things that
Email.
included.
Okay.
So
All
the
right.
Board of Selectmen haven't agreed to that agreement.
That's correct.
Right. All right. Well, then here's what we'll do. if we need to have a meeting next
We'll let you know,
week,
right?
we'll
Yeah.
we'll know.
Talk
I would
early
like
on
to I would like to know by
Monday,
yeah
Tuesday.
Tuesday
As
at the
early as possible.
latest.
I'm
But do we
already
really
working
need to
Yeah,
meet
Thursday night
next
um,
week
next
for
week.
that?
Okay.
For that?
Okay.
Can't we do
So-
that in June? I mean,
No.
this project isn't going to go until fall.
That is June.
Next week is June.
Next week is June.
That's what?
Saturday's
It is
June.
The end of June.
Oh.
I'm sorry, didn't I leave out end of?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm used to talking to 4-year-olds.
I thought we have other things too that are pressing. Didn't we have other? I'm tired.
The 12th you have,
The chief.
the 12th you have the chief. The 12th you have evaluations. The 12th you also have, help me out, Heather. Archways. Archways coming in with a
Yes.
CDBG grant request
Yep.
for the board.
All right. Well, we'll hold off then, and we'll
Grant
determine it.
request.
Yeah.
CDB,
Block grant?
yeah, block grant,
Okay.
yes.
I was gonna
Community
say,
Development
Yeah.
Block Grant.
Yeah.
All right.
the only thing I could think of.
So I'll talk with you, Scott and Tim, by Tuesday, and
Yeah.
if we need one, we need one. If we don't,
Yep.
then we
Yeah.
don't. All right. You're up, John.
Did you hear anything from Lowe's?
No, the manager wasn't there the day we went up. Oh, and I didn't include that in my report. But the board does not need to be concerned with the water drainage from the storage tank. I met with them. There was a little bit of confusion, but ironed out. Home Depot, many others, Kohl's has done it in their drainage of those tanks. There are two retention ponds below the tank. So they're going to slowly let water out. Their engineer, who we met with, said it's going to be done on a certain amount of gallons per day, and the water will be captured by the first retention pond. And if, at worst case scenario, if there's any issue with that filling because of heavy rains, it will carry over to the second a little bit. It's a very slow, I think it's 250 gallons a day they're going to release.
250 a day?
A day, yes. So
Wow.
that's
250 gallons, that's not much at all.
right, exactly.
And
That's,
retention ponds?
yeah, it's only only an inch and a half line is what I was told that
Oh.
does it. So
Yeah. Yeah. 250 gallons.
and this information had been relayed. It did not get to me, but it had been relayed. So
How long will that take?
2 months.
Okay.
It's going to take 2 months. Kohl's has done it in the past.
Okay.
Home
I
Depot's
was
done it.
picturing an 8-inch
Me
line.
too. Me too.
What a job
I-
that would be. Go up every day and.
I was picturing you with a floating houseboat.
It's happened. I went down there clogging drains. And the
Yes.
whole road was flooded.
But the manager was not there for me to discuss, but I have that on my list to follow up to just dress the sign up a little bit with some thoughts and ideas.
Yeah.
But-
Well, I think, how long has Lowe's been there? 15 years?
Oh.
Yeah.
19 years.
19.
years?
Okay, Tim. Yep.
Tim's gone. Tim's busy.
No, he's,
Oh,
Putting the air on.
oh,
So for 19 years, I've been mowing there,
yeah,
and the previous manager would give me some plants and that,
trees, right.
and to put in to make it look nice.
Yeah.
Entering Tilton.
Yeah.
And doing that. Does the new manager doesn't respond? I don't know. I'm doing it. Are they
Yeah,
not going to want me to do it? I've been paying for it and doing it myself.
right. Yeah.
Um,
I was going to talk to the manager.
Yeah.
I just haven't had a chance to get back.
I could
But-
try and stop him, but I
but-
don't get anything. I don't know, absentee
The two
manager.
times that I've been there, that day and a day after, I went for a personal issue, but I asked for the manager and the manager wasn't there. It's a woman. So.
The other thing, so they didn't do the street, Main Street.
Sweeping?
Yeah.
Public Works did.
No, the state.
Oh, the state, no. Shane, and the chief, you spoke to him too, right? So the state is going to do it. I believe they told the chief and Shane they're going to do it. The Hutchinson is the guy in charge of this area now. So they are going to do it.
That, see, I think, just wanted to make sure, so the Public Works is replacing the lids on the sewers. So they billing the sewer department for that?
I don't know.
Because we've had issues.
We
that
have
we've
in the
discussed
past.
it, that we're buying sewers, resetting them and stuff
Right.
like that, that the bills for doing that are supposed to go to the sewer department, not
Right.
be
Paid for by the town.
by the taxpayers. of town.
Well, I will talk to Shane and ask him. Shane indicated to me today that he was going to replace the same cover, take the old cover off, and that he was borrowing the steel to cover it while they mill it. And then when they pave it, he's going to put the same cover back on. But I did tell
So if
him
it-
to
if it
keep the
takes him
costs
A day to do it.
correct, what the costs are, and then we can bill
You know.
sewer.
And they're still going to put the additional storm drain on Morrison.
That's my understanding, yes. Yep.
I just wanted to make sure, because
Yep.
that's where they were talking about putting a berm back again
Right.
on the guy's driveway.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know,
No,
to do
well.
it. And I think everything else I'm all set. The only thing that was, I mean, last week was only Memorial Day, and we've
Right.
had really cold weather. A lot of plants that weren't hardened off, people lost. So
Yeah,
if we're
a little bit.
targeting putting the flowers out on Memorial Day can be a little iffy thing. You gotta
Yeah.
use the farmer's almanac, not the weather report.
I agree.
Or a light blanket.
Or
The guy at Appleseed
so we're not too
Nursery,
bad for
the
plants.
guy at Appleseed Nursery I talked to, I was there for a personal thing. And I was looking for a specific plant that my boss had told me to get that one, nothing else. And he told me, wait another week. I was there last week. He said, wait one more week for this sun patient flower. So,
Excellent. Thanks, Scott.
yep, you're welcome.
Okay.
That's why God made pansies.
That's funny.
That is funny.
They like
Yeah,
the cold.
You're up. Caleb.
I actually only had two things, and one was the Lowe's, so you already
Okay,
answered that question
okay.
that I had on here. And John, I'm there every day. I can go talk to the store manager.
Yeah,
Mm.
if you want
Yeah,
me to continue and, grab some flowers and I'll put them in and take care of them, water them.
Yep.
And all that.
That's nice of you, John.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And the other question was, and forgive me if we've already discussed this in the past, but I don't remember the town properties that we had evaluated. What's
Yeah,
still in a holding pattern with that, or?
Yeah, still waiting for Greg to get back with market. He did the market analysis update. Then he was going to give us some thoughts on Mechanic Street, which we own property at, and that stuff. But I'm just waiting for him to get back to me. Yep.
All right, that's all I got. Thank you.
Yep.
Also, if I can add to that, June will reach the 10-year mark for one of the town properties that was taken by deed.
Right. And that was the other thing, right?
Good.
Thank you.
I only have one thing, and that actually came from John.
Yeah.
So we're wondering what's going on with the property on Mechanic Street with the cars and the RV. Anything updated on that?
I actually haven't. Yeah, I actually haven't had a chance to talk to the chief, but my understanding was we don't have a contact to get it cleaned up. We're just going to have to incur the costs ourselves.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of vehicles that are still on that property. So I guess we'd have to just kind of figure out how we're going to move those vehicles, because one of them is an old motorhome RV.
Oh, that's right.
And it is packed full of stuff, and there's rodents probably in it. But a lot of it was, Rusty had said, when Jeannie was here and we made contact, he could move some of the vehicles, I guess when they were demoing the building itself, and they would have to put them back. But now that it's been some time, the town now owns the property. The vehicles will be moved if that's what we want to do, and probably, I would say, get some money for the vehicles to probably pay for the cost, because the RV, if it tries to get dragged out, it's going to rip in half.
Mhm.
And there's no way to transport that. So
Can we
Put it up on a trailer.
reach out to, I don't know, maybe Camaro Heaven and see if they'll buy any of them?
yeah, I bet you.
As parts.
Chuck-
I mean, I don't even,
Gold,
I can't remember
yeah.
even what the vehicles are. So
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
that
But
will
some of the other
help.
vehicles are salvageable. I mean, I wouldn't say they're that far off.
Oh, okay.
But those ones you could probably get some scrap money for them, or if they're good. But that would be a contact.
Right.
Coming out of heaven. But the RV itself would be, they'd want the parts. But if you want something like that in his yard, there's a lot of stuff in that. I mean, it's packed full.
RV.
And I mean, it's like a motorhome. It's like a 40-foot, 50.
Yeah,
It's
so
a
that's just gonna be
huge motorhome.
trash.
Well,
From the
I mean,
70s
it
or
has a
something.
motor. How old is the motor? There are some parts to it, the truck
Probably like a
parts,
Whether it's
that
trash
might
or
be
not, right.
salvageable, but the fact
Mm.
is,
You have to move
we
it.
have to find a place to
Mhm.
put it
Right.
after we get it off that lot. Who's going to take it?
The
Correct.
dumpster.
Well,
We
so
take
that,
it down to Public
I was gonna
Works and make
say,
them.
so
truck
that's
it,
what I was,
dumpster and crush
that's
it
what
up.
I was wondering is,
Yep.
Or do we bring a dumpster there?
Bring a dumpster
you
there.
probably have to
Into
bring a
that.
dumpster there,
And
but
ask DPW to empty it out.
Strip
What
it
if-
down to the frame.
that's what I'm
and then
wondering.
Maybe it's
is there
saleable.
somebody that would want to maybe buy the motor?
Or get scrap for just.
Or get scrap for it.
You have the frame, the motor, and all the metal.
That's what you got to figure out.
So I saw them get rid of a large quantity of RVs up at the racetrack that had been abandoned. People buy them.
Yeah.
They live in them for the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Strip the plates and trash them and leave them at the racetrack. And
Yeah.
they finally go around. But they had a big like scrap metal dumpster or something like that. But I was watching him. He had thumbs, and I think we have one of those. They just went in there and they went into a dumpster,
Mm.
and then they took the frames off. Scrap.
Well,
So the consensus would be to,
figure out what you're going to do with the thing.
Get a dumpster,
Get
get
rid
a
of
couple
it.
of dumpsters.
No matter, at
Ask
any means.
DPW, ask DPW to, if they have, do you know, Tim, do they have a thumb on that? Because
would-
you don't want them,
You
you've
don't
got
want
a
them in
health
there.
issue.
I don't want them touching it.
Yeah, exactly. Just,
I would
No.
call some of the junkyards.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
mean, let's not just say they won't want it, but
Yeah.
let's eliminate
And
them by
that's what I was-
calling them.
That's what I was wondering. Could
Yeah.
we,
Yeah, let's call
could we at
them.
least see?
They take the cars and. as
Freedom
soon as they get
dumpster,
rid of that
jump
other thing.
couple, and do those
Right.
if they want it.
And then, we're going to have our public works guy go up there in hazmat suits, empty it out, throw it in the, yeah, but you got to empty it out. Or well, that's the other thing. Maybe waste
You don't have
management.
to.
mm,
We'll put a dumpster up there and let us,
What's
Dump it into it.
what is that veteran-owned business?
scrap,
Freedom
junk,
dumpster?
yeah,
Junk
junk,
removal?
Patriot.
grunt, junk, grunt,
Junk,
junk.
yeah.
I would call them.
Donated.
Grunt, yeah.
Yeah,
Veteran-owned
actually, you know what?
business.
I will.
Grunt.
Be surprised.
I've seen their trucks around. Oh, I can't remember which way the words go, but all right. So you'll do that for us?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, because we need to get that stuff out of there. All right. I am all set. Okay. Phew. Are we all awake?
Mm-mm.
We need to all get up and stretch.
Yoga.
All right, here we go. So, the time being 7:40.
No, it says adjournment, 7:00.
I know it does. I know
Excuse
it
me.
does. So the time being 7:40. I make a motion to move into non-public per RSA 91A:3, section 2C. Matters which, if discussed in public, would likely adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to include any application for assistance or tax abatement or waiver of a fee, fine, or other levy, if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant. Give me a second.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Constantino, yes?
Scanlon, yes.
Hanson, yes.
Dawson, yes.
Adams, yes.
This conference will now be recorded.
All right.
I think we scared everybody off.
Like to make a motion to seal the minutes of May 29th, 2025, because the reasons justifying the need for the non-public session still remain.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Microphones.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I will second.
Thank you,
Good night,
Joe.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.